Chapter 4:17. The scenery on both sides receded as the car sped along. Lu Cheng was a little scared and couldn't help but advise her, "Ku, you don't have to drive so fast." Yenjika glanced at him out of the corner of her eyes. She let go of the accelerator and slowed down. Blushing, she said with an embarrassed smile, "I saw others overtaking me and driving so fast, so I thought that it's okay to drive faster." "Aren't they all the same?" Lu Cheng was dumbfounded as he listened. He carefully observed his surroundings, using his eyes to measure the details of his surroundings. "What are you thinking about?" Yenjika's right foot in white casual shoes unconsciously stepped on the accelerator again. Lu Cheng answered with a complicated expression, "I'm thinking about how to accelerate if something goes wrong, how to step on the brake, and how to resist the collision from the opposite side." Yenjika slowed down the accelerator again and didn't know what to say for a while. When they stopped at the traffic light, she asked with both annoyance and amusement, "Am I really that bad? I think everything went well except for the ignition at the beginning." "It's not about bad. Ku, you're not in the right state of mind. You can't always think about overtaking others and driving so fast. You have to control yourself. How can you not wet your shoes if you always walk on the roadside?" Lu Cheng was afraid that Ku would have an accident when he was not with her, so he reminded her seriously, which was rare. Yenjika pouted, "Okay, I'll try my best." The green light flashed and the car started again. This time, she listened to Lu Cheng's advice and drove very steadily. Sometimes she wanted to overtake or speed up, but she realized it in time and controlled herself. "Where are we going for a drive?" Lu Cheng was in the mood to look at the scenery outside the car. He saw tall buildings and a river of lights. Yenjika smiled and said in a light tone, "I'll take you to see the night market in Lin Ning first, and then we'll go to the river to get some fresh air." The capital of Jiangnan province was called Lin Ning. Night market? What's it like? Lu Cheng thought of the flea market in Shushan. "Hee, you'll know when we get there." Yenjika kept him guessing with a smile on her face. The car turned left and right and arrived at a busy street half an hour later. At first glance, the street was as bright as day. Simple shops were lined up in 3 rows and meandered into the distance. Crowds of people and voices filled the air. With the help of the reversing radar and video, Yenjika parked the car with a sense of accomplishment. She held Lu Cheng's hand and walked into the night market. There were all kinds of cheap items for sale here, such as clothes and cell phone cases, as well as fragrant delicacies. Lu Cheng stretched out his left hand and put it on the girl's other shoulder. He pulled her to his side, separating her from the pedestrians who were rubbing shoulders. As they walked and stopped, Yenjika fully enjoyed the pleasure of bargaining. Although she was not interested in those things, she just wanted to experience life. She criticized Lu Cheng seriously, saying that he had never learned how to bargain. Every time he talked, it would be, "How much is it? 150. Can you make it cheaper? No, okay, give it to me," and so on. He never deviated from the basic principle. They started their business here. Now it's a national chain. But other than this place, they don't taste good. Their family started their business here, and now it's a national chain restaurant. But other than here, the other restaurants don't taste good. "I think their other stores are good?" Lu Cheng asked with interest. "I think their other stores are okay." Lu Cheng asked with interest. "That's because you haven't eaten anything good." While they were talking, the chicken was ready and put into a bag. They held hands and ate as they walked. They both thought it was like a student couple on a date. While they were talking, the chicken chops were ready and put into a bag. The two of them each took a piece, held hands, and ate as they walked. Both of them felt that this was like a student couple dating. It's true. It's much better than the ones in Songcheng." Lu Cheng chewed on the tender chicken chop and expressed his admiration in surprise. He swallowed half of it in 2 or 3 bites. Yenjika lifted her chin slightly and smiled smugly. "I told you, but you didn't believe me." She took out her phone and let Lu Cheng lean his head and body to her. They held the chicken and took a selfie. She took out her phone and asked Lu Cheng to take a selfie with the chicken. She didn't like to take pictures. She didn't know when it started, but she, who didn't like taking pictures, started to like using this method to record the interesting things they experienced together. Snap. Yenjika pursed her lips and tilted her head, trying to portray a beautiful image. Lu Cheng, on the other hand, didn't care. He laughed and said, "Ku, you haven't eaten much at roadside stalls before, right? Where did you get this place?" "My cousin, Sister Lingxi, brought me here once." Yenjika answered with a sweet smile. Sister Lingxi is indeed an experienced player. Lu Cheng nodded in understanding. Ji Lingxi was the eldest daughter of the Ji family. She was 4 years older than Ku. She was born with great strength but didn't like martial arts. She wanted to study and be a manager. She was a professional 9th pin fighter in her first year and was still a professional 9th pin fighter in her 4th year. 2 years after graduation, she reached the threshold of the dance stage. She was a very playful person. She skateboarded, surfed, rappelling, sang, danced, traveled, took a cruise to the sea, collected bags, and so on. In addition, she was also interested in experiencing the different specialties of different places, exploring roadside delicacies, and interesting shops. She was the kind of person who could go to banquets and food stalls. They talked and laughed. They ate from the chicken chop shop to the end of the night market. They ate from one stall after another, all of which were certified by the gourmet Ji Lingxi. After a round, they returned to the car from the outside of the night market. Yenjika led Lu Cheng to the riverside to take a walk in the cool night wind. The Ning River was wide and refreshing. The water blew on their faces, moistening their skin and soul. The girl held Lu Cheng's hand and walked beside the guardrail. She giggled and swayed as if she was still a little girl. "It's late. We have to go back." She looked at her watch. "We can stay out all night." Lu Cheng instigated with a half-truth and half-lie. Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and mimicked his tone. "Then you will be hunted down by my grandpa and grandma for 8 streets." Shivering. Lu Cheng joked. It was his first day here and he had already abducted someone's granddaughter and stayed out all night. Was he asking for a beating or a beating? They opened the door and got into the car. Yenjika had just sat down. Before she could fasten the seat belt or start the car, she felt her body tilted and fell into Cheng's arms. "You." Just as she raised her head, she saw Lu Cheng's scorching black eyes. Having shared a bed and pillow intimately during the national competition, Lu Cheng had long been itching to make a move. Due to Yen Kai and Ji Mingyu's interference and other reasons, they hadn't been intimate for the past week. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. Yenjika closed her eyes, straightened her fair and slender neck like that of a swan, and gave in. Her legs were curled up on her side, and she was in the same position as her boyfriend. They were squeezed very closely together. Lu Cheng had observed the surroundings and knew that there was no one here. He kissed her passionately and let his hands move. He started from her shoulders, back and legs and gradually went deeper. "Ku, this seat, can it be reclined?" Lu Cheng asked anxiously as he kissed the girl's ear. "I can't do it like this. I don't know. You can search." Yenjika answered in a soft and confused voice. She didn't even know what she was talking about. Search at this time? Lu Cheng didn't want to be distracted. He wanted to use force concentration to lean against her and knock down the seat. At this moment, a sharp ringing sound rang out, echoing continuously. Yenjika pushed Lu Cheng away and glared at him with embarrassment and anger in her eyes. She pursed her moist lips, picked up her phone, and answered the call. "Hello, Sister Lingxi. You're back." "Yes, we're outside. I brought Cheng to the night market." "Okay, we're going back." Lu Cheng laughed helplessly at the side. He reached out and helped Ku tidy up her clothes. "Humph, it's dangerous to be with you." Yenjika sat back in the driver's seat and calmed herself down. She started the ignition with a blushing face. I haven't been intimate with you for a long time. Lu Qing adjusted his pants. Yenjika glared at him and bit her lip. It'll be fine after a few days. Anyway, I'm on my period tomorrow. As she spoke, she burst into laughter. I know. Oh, where's your aunt? Lu Qing changed the topic and asked about his aunt. She went to Shushan study to take care of my brother. Yenjika calmed herself down and started the car. The journey was smooth without any accidents. They arrived at the old house of the Ji family in 40 minutes. After parking the car, Lu Qing and Yenjika walked towards the main entrance. Before they could get close, they heard someone talking loudly inside. My 300,000 for a gram. It has a medicinal fragrance. It can cure many diseases. It's not as good as your Buddhist beads, brotherly. This string of prayer beads is made of ordinary materials. It was blessed by a senior monk from the Daxing temple and nourished by chanting scriptures every day for half a year. I was unlucky last year, so my dad begged for this string of prayer beads. It's hard to say how much it's worth. All right. Don't brag about it every time. Get one for each of us if you can. What the hell? Lu Qing was confused. This was a field he didn't understand at all. Yenjika glanced at him and said in a low voice, don't mind them. They like to play these games. It's boring. She turned the handle and pushed the door open. 2 men and 2 women were chatting in the main hall. Lu Qing recognized Ji Lingxi at a glance. She looked more like the Empress Dowager than his classmate Ku. She was tall and graceful, but her eyebrows were not sharp enough. You're back. Ji Lingxi's white t-shirt, denim shorts, and high-heeled sandals showcased her figure to the fullest. She stood up with a smile and said, come, let me introduce you. This is Zhongli, the young master of the Jindi group. His father has a good relationship with several eminent monks of Daxing Temple. Zhongli's skin was dark and his eyes were ordinary. He wore a dark brown prayer beads on his wrist. This is Han Jingqiao. His mother is the chairman of the Provincial Martial Artist Association. Ji Lingxi pointed to the other man with a smile. Han Jingqiao was more handsome than Zhongli, but his eyes were heavy and his qi and blood were not strong enough. He was holding a green pendant in his hand. This is Guogua. Ku, you know her. We've had dinner together a few times. Her father is now independent. Ji Lingxi looked at the girl with long wavy hair beside her. Then she pointed to Yenjika and said, I don't think I need to tell you. My cousin Yenjika. A few guys wanted to pursue her, but they were beaten to the punch. Hey, Ku, introduce him yourself. Yenjika looked at Lu Qing and thought for a moment. The corners of her mouth curled up, and she said simply without adding anything. He's Lu Qing. Chapter 4:18. He's Lu Qing. The 4 simple words made the atmosphere suddenly solemn. Zhongli, Guogua, and the others were silent for more than 10 seconds. See, this is the heavenly son of the age. Ji Lingxi was the first to come back to herself. She smiled and looked at her companions. Then she turned to Yenjika and complained, when they heard that Lu Qing was coming, they were so excited and curious. They shamelessly followed me home. They wanted to see what the heavenly son of the age looked like and whether he had 3 heads and 6 arms. So I'm a monster? Lu Qing replied humorously. No. You're not a monster. After practicing martial arts for a year and a half, you've already reached the top of 6th pin. You're not a monster. You're a Superman. Zhongli smiled. He was relatively calm. His left hand began to twirl the dark brown prayer beads. Yes, Superman. Han Jingqiao echoed with an exaggerated smile. Then he asked in confusion, Lu Qing, why do I feel that you look a little different from on TV? How so? Lu Qing looked at Yenjika with a smile and found that she was just as confused as he was. It had only been 5 or 6 days since he last appeared on TV. Guo was a short and delicate girl with a rather imposing face. She said in a low voice, "You're a little different. On TV, you're more, how do I put it? More flamboyant. You have a temperament that people don't dare to look at directly." "Huh, I understand now. During an intense battle, I will definitely release my aura to oppress and affect the opponent's mind." When the match was over and I was interviewed, I hadn't completely calmed down. Lu Qing suddenly understood. The me on TV was a battle form. So that's how it is. When you're free, you're like a forest. When you're in a battle, you're like a fire. Zhang Li nodded thoughtfully. They were the kind of people who didn't like martial arts. They would only watch highly watched matches that attracted a lot of attention. Therefore, even though there were many seniors and experts around them, they didn't notice some details. After the small talk, the atmosphere became relatively livelier. Ji Lingxi, Han Jingchao, and the others sat down and began to chat about various things. It was obvious that they wanted Lu Qing to be the center of the conversation. Seeing that he wasn't interested, they didn't mention the prayer beads and ambergris. Instead, they talked about the gossip in the martial arts circle. Lu Qing didn't care about what they were talking about. He didn't feel the slightest inferiority even if their collection was worth all his savings. Instead, he took it as an opportunity to broaden his horizons and listen quietly. He didn't mind. Time ticked by. Lu Qing pressed on his phone, looked at the screen, and stood up with a smile. As time ticked, Lu Lingxi. Ji stood. Li, he was surprised. His tone was normal, but there was an indisputable tone to it. Ji Lingxi stood up and asked in surprise, "So early?" Ever since he started practicing martial arts, he's been living like an old man. "Yeah, so am I." Yan Zhika explained for her boyfriend with a smile and thought of an excuse to get herself out of this situation. Zhang. Wei Sming, Qing said, Yan, Li, Qing, let's go fishing and enjoy the breeze. Oh, there are a few underground fights in the international waters. With the existence of referees, the arena matches were more than exciting, but not exciting enough. In order to satisfy their own desires and needs to vent, some tycoons would privately organize underground arena matches in war-torn zones and on the high seas. Arena matches without referees. If they really fought like this, even if no one died, there would definitely be a scene of blood splattering everywhere and bones breaking. It would excite the bestial side of humans. Of course, the fighters who were willing to fight in challenge tournaments to make quick money were not very strong. If there was a Dan stage, 7th or 6th pin fighter, they would have a guarantor and a chance to repay the debt. No need. Lu Qing looked at Yan Zhika and turned her down with a smile. Tomorrow, he would stay at home with Ku and rub her tummy. Today was one of the days left out in the travel plan. Fine. I'll look for you next time. With your listening skill, I'm sure you can catch a lot of fish. Zhang Li didn't insist. He left the Ji family's old house with Han Jingchao and Guo and got into his SUV. He took off the dark brown prayer beads and put them on the gearshift. After a few seconds of silence, he asked, "What do you think? What do you think of Lu Qing?" "He's a gentle, friendly, and introverted person." Han Jingchao rubbed his eye bags and answered seriously. "But don't you think he has a strong aura? It's like he's telling us what to do and we can only listen obediently." Guo frowned and whispered. That's normal. It's the confidence of a mighty one accumulated from victory after victory. My mom is the same. She doesn't have to get angry or speak loudly. As long as she makes a decision, I don't even dare to fart." Han Jingchao laughed at himself. Not to mention a heavenly son of the age. Yeah. Zhang Li started the engine and started the car. Anyway, whether Lu Qing can reach physical invulnerability or not, I think he'll definitely become an inhuman. Han Jingchao added, "We're not strong and have no interest in martial arts. It's good to make more friends like him." Yo, I didn't expect young Master Han, who loves wine, cars, and women, to say something like that, Guo Guo mocked. Han Jingchao usually behaved like a typical rich playboy. This is called being vigilant in times of peace, he replied, clicking his tongue. Zhongli nodded in agreement and said slowly, since you have this understanding, it's not a waste of my advice. Why do you think Lingxi insisted on coming back today? Sisterly love? Isn't that so? Guo Guo and Han Jingchao asked in surprise. Zhongli chuckled. The Ji family is a typical martial arts family. Don't be fooled by the wealth and power of the outside world. Internally, strength is still the most important factor. Guo Guo interrupted him before he could finish. She played with her long wavy hair and said with a frown, Uncle Ji's 4 siblings are very harmonious and close. That's because there are old masters and old ladies above them. Where there are people, there are conflicts. Where there are money and power, there are disputes. In order to have strong children to stabilize his foundation, Uncle Ji kept many lovers outside. Unfortunately, none of them turned out to be successful. He didn't dare to bring them home. Zhongli sighed. Lingxi has shed countless tears because of this. Don't be fooled by her carefree attitude. In fact, she knows better than anyone else. She knows that she can't achieve anything in martial arts and doesn't want to fight for anything. She just wants to maintain her current status and lifestyle. Therefore, continuing to befriend Yan Zhika, who has a good relationship with her, is the most reasonable and practical choice. Especially when she has a really good boyfriend, the really good kind, although Lu Cheng had been dealing with the heavenly sons of the age recently, which made it seem like there were many young fighters at this level. In fact, there might not even be one in several provinces. At least among Zhongli and Han Jingchao, only Lin Ke was slightly close to this level. In a situation where a high-ranked inhuman dance stage fighter could be considered as the upper class of a province, it was normal for the heavenly sons of the age who had a good chance of reaching physical invulnerability to be highly valued. Brotherly. Han Jingchao was dumbfounded. He couldn't help but gasp. You've hidden your strength well. He could see things so clearly. Zhongli sneered. My family has a lot of people. If they were stupid, they would have been swallowed long ago. How could I be the young master? Speaking of this, he sighed again. I really envy Lu Cheng and the others now. They are strong and not afraid of scheming against each other. Anyway, I'm waiting for a chance to help him or be helped by him. Either way, it could improve the relationship between both parties. In the guest room of the Ji family's old house, Lu Cheng, who was under the nose of a physical invulnerability expert, didn't sneak into the bedroom. After washing up, he lay on the bed and received a call from his mother. After chatting for a while, Qi Fang said mysteriously, "Your brother has hit the jackpot recently." Huh? Lu Cheng was dumbfounded. Lu Yanwei really succeeded in starting his business? He didn't say anything about it recently. Erzi expanded his business to Shushan. He asked your brother to help and even gave him shares. Qi Fang gossiped excitedly. She didn't feel jealous because her son was very successful after all. Others couldn't catch up to him easily. Lu Cheng was stunned and asked doubtfully, "Who's Erzi?" Qi Fang didn't know what to say. After a while, she said, "He's a relative from Qingfu's hometown. He often comes to visit your grandpa and grandma." "Ah, I remember. He's quite a nice guy." Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. "You have no taste. How could you ask your brother for help? Didn't you see how many things he has failed?" Qi Fang insisted that Lu Yanwei didn't have the ability to start a business. "It doesn't matter. It's not us who will suffer losses." Lu Cheng laughed. "That's true. Also, your dad got promoted recently. Fatty Guo put him in charge of the whole factory and even gave him shares. Cheng, do you think it's because of you? You just won the national championship and Fatty Guo brought this up." "What's that idiom?" "What's that?" Qi Fang wasn't well educated. "It's the icing on the cake." Lu Cheng added on behalf of his mother, "Fatty Guo is a nice guy. Didn't he help me in my hour of need?" "That's true. Anyway, If he really asks you for help, don't worry about us. If you can help, just do it. If not, just forget it. Chi Fong said with concern. Yes, yes, yes. Lu Qing answered with a smile. When the phone was hung up and the surroundings were quiet, he sighed with emotion. As he made his name in the national competition and gained the reputation of the favored fighter of the age, everything around him was changing. Maybe it had changed before, but it was definitely not as obvious as it was now. Without him saying anything, the fate of his relatives and friends had changed. It was only now that Lu Qing truly understood what it meant to have a change in status. Chapter 419. The scenery on both sides receded as the car sped along. Lu Qing was a little scared and couldn't help but dissuade her. You don't have to drive so fast. Glancing at him from the corner of her eye, Yenjika released the accelerator and slowed down. She blushed and said with an embarrassed smile, when I see others overtaking me and driving so fast, I want to overtake them. I think it's okay to drive faster. Aren't they all the same? Lu Qing was dumbfounded. He carefully observed his surroundings, measuring the details with his eyes. What are you thinking about? Yenjika unconsciously pressed the accelerator with her right foot in white casual shoes. Lu Qing answered with a complicated expression, I'm thinking about how to exert force, how to brake, and how to resist the collision of the opposite side if there is a problem. Yenjika slowed down the accelerator again and didn't know what to say. When the car stopped at the traffic light, she asked with anger and amusement, am I really that bad at driving? I feel that everything is smooth today except for the ignition at the beginning. It's not a problem of bad or not. You have the wrong mentality. You can't always think about overtaking others and driving so fast. You need to control yourself. If you often walk on the side of the road, your shoes will get wet. Lu Qing was afraid that Ku would have an accident when he wasn't with her, so he seriously reminded her. Yenjika pouted and said, okay, I'll try. The green light flashed and the car started again. This time, the girl listened to Lu Qing's advice and drove steadily. Occasionally, she wanted to overtake and speed up, but she noticed it in time and controlled herself. Where are we going for a ride? Lu Qing was in the mood to look at the scenery outside the car. He saw towering buildings and rivers of lights. Yenjika showed her dimples and said in a light tone, I'll take you to see the night market of Lining first, and then to the river bank. The capital of Jiangnan province was called Lining. Night market? What's it like? Lu Qing thought of the flea market in Shushan. Hey, you'll know when you get there. Yenjika kept him guessing with a smile on her face. The car turned left and right, and after half an hour, they arrived at a bustling street. At a glance, the street was as bright as day, and simple shops were arranged in 3 rows, winding into the distance. There were people everywhere, and voices filled the air. With the help of the reversing radar and images, Yenjika parked the car with a sense of accomplishment. Holding Lu Qing's hand, they entered the night market. There were all kinds of cheap goods, such as clothes and mobile phone cases, as well as a lot of delicious food. Lu Qing reached out his left hand and wrapped it around the girl's other shoulder. He pulled her closer to him, separating them from the pedestrians who were rubbing shoulders with each other so that they wouldn't brush against each other. The two of them walked and stopped. Yenjika fully enjoyed the pleasure of bargaining. Although she didn't like those things at all, she just wanted to experience life. She also sternly criticized Lu Qing, saying that he had never learned how to bargain. Every time he talked, he would say, how much? 150. Can you make it cheaper? No. Fine, give it to me. After strolling for a while, Yenjika led Lu Qing to a roadside stall and asked for 2 big chicken steaks. While waiting, she said, their family started from here, and now it has become a national chain. But except for here, the food in other places is not good. Really? I think the food in other stores is not bad. Lu Qing asked with interest. That's because you haven't eaten good food. Yenjika looked at her boyfriend with disdain, and then turned to sympathy. She laughed in a low voice and said, poor child, I can only take you to broaden your horizons. While talking, the chicken steaks were ready and put into a bag. They each took a piece, held hands, and walked while eating. Both of them felt that this was especially like a student couple on a date. Hey, it's true. It's much better than those in Songcheng. Lu Qing expressed his admiration and surprise while gnawing on the tender chicken steaks. He ate half of them in a few bites. Yenjika slightly raised her chin and smiled with a little pride. I told you, but you didn't believe me. Come, let's take a picture. She took out her phone and asked Lu Qing to lean his head and body over. They held the chicken steaks together and took a selfie. She didn't know when it started, but she, who didn't like to take pictures before, liked to record the interesting things they experienced together in this way. Click. Yenjika pursed her lips and tilted her head, outlining the beautiful image. Lu Qing showed his true colors indifferently. In the end, he laughed and said, "Ku, you haven't eaten at roadside stalls before, right? Where did you hear about this chicken steaks?" "My cousin." "Well, Sister Lingxi took me here once." Yenjika answered with a sweet smile. Sister Lingxi is indeed a veteran player. Lu Qing nodded in realization. Ji Lingxi was the eldest daughter of this generation of the Ji family, 4 years older than Ku. She was born with extraordinary strength, but she didn't like to practice martial arts. She walked the path of learning and management. She had reached the level of professional 9th pin in her first year of college, and was still at professional 9th pin in her 4th year of college. 2 years after graduation, she had just touched the threshold of Dan stage. She was a very playful person. She did everything like skateboarding, surfing, singing and dancing, hiking, cruising, collecting and buying bags. In addition, she was also interested in experiencing the different characteristics of different places, discovering the delicious food and interesting shops by the roadside. She was the kind of person who could attend banquets and go to roadside stalls. Talking and laughing, they ate from the chicken steak stall to the end of the night market. They ate one stall after another, all of which were certified by the gourmet Ji Lingxi. They took a detour from the outside of the night market to the car. Yenjika led Lu Qing to the riverside, where the cool night wind blew and they strolled to digest the food. Ningjiang's blue waves were wide and spacious. Looking at it, one would feel refreshed and refreshed. The water rushed into one's face, nourishing one's skin and soul. The girl pulled Lu Qing while walking beside the guardrail. She giggled and swayed as if she was still a little girl. It's getting late. We have to go back. She looked at her watch, still wanting to continue. We can stay out all night. Lu Qing instigated, half joking. Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and imitated his tone. Then you'll be chased by my grandpa and grandma all the way to 8 streets. Shivering in fear. Lu Qing joked. It was his first day in the house, and he was already abducting someone's granddaughter to stay out all night. Was he asking for a beating? They opened the door and entered the car from the left and right sides. Yenjika had just sat down, but before she could fasten her seatbelt and turn on the ignition, she felt her body tilting and falling towards the passenger seat. She was pulled into Cheng's arms. You. Just as she raised her head, she saw Lu Cheng's burning black eyes. After experiencing the continuous bed and pillow sharing during the national competition, Lu Cheng had been itching for a long time because of Yenjika and Ji Mingyu's interference in the past week. It was easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. Yenjika closed her eyes, straightened her slender neck like a swan, and kissed him gently. She sat with her legs curled up, overlapping with her boyfriend. They were very close together. Lu Qing had already observed the surroundings, so he knew there was no one here. While kissing her passionately, he started to caress her shoulders, back, legs, and feet, and gradually went deeper. Cool, this seat. Can you put it upside down? Lu Qing asked eagerly when he kissed her ear. I can't do it like this. I don't know how to do it. You can search for it. Yenjika answered in a faint and confused voice. She didn't even know what she was saying. Search for it at this time? Lu Qing didn't want to be distracted. He couldn't wait to use forced concentration. He leaned close to her and knocked the seat over. At this moment, a sharp ringtone sounded and kept echoing. Yenjika pushed Lu Qing away and glared at him shyly. She pursed her moist lips, picked up the phone, and answered the call. "Hello, Sister Lingxi. You're back." "Yes, we're outside. I brought Qing to the night market." "Okay, we're on our way back." Lu Qing smiled helplessly and reached over to help Ku tidy up her clothes. "Humph, it's so dangerous to be with you." Yenjika sat back in the driver's seat and calmed down. She started the ignition with a red face. "I haven't been intimate with you for a long time." Lu Qing adjusted his pants. Yenjika glared at him and bit her lip. "It'll be fine after a few days. Anyway, my period starts tomorrow." As she spoke, she couldn't help but laugh. "I know. By the way, where's your aunt?" Lu Qing changed the topic and asked about her real aunt. "She went to Shushan study to take care of my brother." Yenjika calmed down and started the car. The journey was smooth and there were no accidents. 40 minutes later, they arrived at the Ji family's old residence. They parked the car and walked to the front door. Before Lu Qing and Yenjika got close, they heard people talking inside. "Mine costs more than 300,000 yuan per gram. It smells like medicine. It can cure many diseases. It's not as good as your prayer beads, brotherly. My prayer beads are made of ordinary material. They were blessed by the eminent monks of Daxing Temple and nourished by chanting scriptures every day for half a year. I was very unlucky last year. My dad gave up his pride and asked for this. It's hard to tell how much it's worth." Okay, don't show off this every time. If you're so good, get us one each, what the hell?" Lu Qing was at a loss. This was something he didn't understand at all. Yenjika glanced at him and said in a low voice, "Don't worry about them. They like to play these games." "It's boring." She turned the doorknob and opened the door. 2 men and 2 women were chatting in the main hall. Lu Qing recognized Ji Lingxi immediately. She looked more like Empress Dowager than Ku. She was tall and elegant, but her eyebrows were not sharp enough. "You're back." Ji Lingxi wore a white t-shirt, denim shorts, and a pair of high-heeled sandals. She stood up with a smile and said, "Come, let me introduce you. This is the young master of the Jindi group, Zhang Li. His father has a good relationship with the high monks of Daxing Temple." Zhang Li had dark skin and ordinary features. He wore a string of dark brown prayer beads on his wrist. "This is Han Jingqiao. His mother is the chairman of our province's martial artist association." Ji Lingxi smiled and pointed at the other person. Han Jingqiao was more handsome than Zhang Li, but he had heavy eye bags and lacked vitality. He was holding a green pendant in his hand. "This is Guogua. Ku, you know her. We've had dinner together a few times. Her father is independent now." Ji Lingxi looked at the girl with long wavy hair beside her. After that, she pointed at Yenjika and said, "You don't need me to tell you. This is my cousin Yenjika. Several guys want to pursue her. Unfortunately, before they could do anything, someone else beat them to it." "Hey, Ku, you introduce your boyfriend." Yenjika looked at Lu Qing and thought for a while. Then she smiled and said simply, without any suffixes, "He's Lu Qing." Chapter 420. He's Lu Qing. The 4 simple words made the atmosphere solemn. Zhang Li, Guogua, and the others were silent for more than 10 seconds. "Look, this is the heavenly son of the age." Ji Lingxi was the first to come back to her senses. She smiled and looked at her companions. Then she turned to Yenjika and complained, "When they heard Lu Qing was coming, they were so excited and curious that they wanted to follow me home. They wanted to see what the heavenly son of the age looked like and see if he had 3 heads and 6 arms. So I'm a monster?" Lu Qing replied humorously. No, no, no. You're not a monster. You've been practicing martial arts for 1.5 years and you're already at the top of the 6th pin. You're not a monster, you're a Superman. Zhongli smiled. He was relatively calm. He turned the dark brown Buddhist prayer beads in his left hand. Yes, a Superman. Han Jingqiao agreed with an exaggerated smile. In the end, he asked in confusion, Lu Cheng, why do I feel that you're a little different from the one on TV? What's different? Lu Cheng looked at Yan Zhika with a smile and found that she was just as confused as he was. It had only been 5 or 6 days since he last entered the broadcast. Guo Guo was a short and petite girl, but her facial features were quite imposing. At this time, she also muttered, it's a little different. The you on TV is more flamboyant. You have a kind of temperament that makes people not dare to look at you directly. I know what's going on. During a fierce battle, you'll definitely release your momentum to oppress and influence your opponent's mind. When the battle was over and you were interviewed, you still haven't completely calmed down, Lu Qing said in realization. His TV appearance was considered his battle form. So that's how it is. When you're idle, you're like a forest, but when you're fighting, you're like a fire. Zhang Li nodded thoughtfully. None of them were interested in martial arts. They would only watch the matches that attracted a lot of attention. Therefore, even though there were many powerful seniors around them, they didn't notice the details. After such small talk, the atmosphere was relatively lively. Ji Lingxi, Han Jingqiao, and the others sat down and began to chat about various things. It was obvious that they were focusing on Lu Cheng. Seeing that he was not very interested, they did not mention the rosary beads, the yellow jade ambergris, and other things. Instead, they talked about the gossip of the martial arts circle. Lu Cheng didn't care about what they were talking about. Even if one of their collections was worth more than all of his savings, he didn't feel the slightest bit inferior. Instead, he took it as an opportunity to broaden his horizons and listen quietly. Since he had the confidence, there was no harm in doing so. Time ticked by. Lu Cheng tapped on his phone, looked at the screen, and got up with a smile. It's getting late. I need to rest. You guys take your time. His tone was normal, but there was a hint of irrefutability in it. Ji Lingxi stood up as well and asked in surprise, so early? Since he started practicing martial arts, he's been living like an old man. Yeah, so am I, Yan Zhika explained for her boyfriend with a smile. She also thought of an excuse for herself. Then it's time for us to go back. Zhang Li turned the prayer beads and smiled. We're going out to sea tomorrow. Do you want to join us? Let's go fishing and get some fresh air. Oh right, there are a few fights on the open sea with no restrictions on life and death. There were referees in the challenge tournament. It was more exciting than exciting. Some rich people privately organized underground challenge tournament in war-torn areas and on the open sea to satisfy their own desires. Challenge tournament without referees. Even if no one died in the real fight, there would definitely be scenes of blood splattering everywhere and bones breaking, which would excite the beastly side of people. Of course, the fighters who were willing to make quick money in the challenge tournament weren't very strong. If there was a Dan stage, 7th pin or 6th pin fighter, even if they owed a lot of money, there would be someone to vouch for them and they would have the opportunity to repay their debts slowly. No need. Lu Cheng glanced at Yan Zhika and declined with a smile. Tomorrow, he would stay at home with Ku and massage her belly. He had left this day empty in his previously cancelled travel plan. Alright, I'll find you next time out at sea. With your listening skill, you'll definitely catch a lot of fish. Zhang Li didn't insist. He left the Ji family's old house with Han Jingqiao and Guo Guo and got into his SUV. He took off the dark brown prayer beads and put them on the gearshift. After a few seconds of silence, he asked, "What do you think? What do you think of Lu Cheng? He's quite gentle, friendly, and introverted." Han Jingqiao rubbed his eye bags and answered seriously. "But don't you think his aura is very strong? It's the kind of feeling where you can do whatever you want and we can only listen obediently. Guo frowned and said softly. That's normal. That's the confidence of a mighty one accumulated through countless victories. My mother was the same. She didn't need to get angry or speak loudly. As long as she decided something, I wouldn't dare to say a word. Han Jingqiao laughed at himself. Let alone a heavenly son of the era like him. Yeah. Zhongli started the engine and started the car. Anyway, regardless of whether he can become a physical invulnerability expert in the future, I think he'll definitely become an inhuman, Han Jingqiao added. We're not strong and we don't have the heart to practice martial arts. It's good to make more friends like him. Yo, I didn't expect our young Master Han, who loves wine, cars, and women, to say something like that. Guo laughed. Han Jingqiao was a typical spoiled brat. This is called being prepared for danger in times of peace. He replied. Zhongli nodded in agreement and said slowly, I didn't advise you in vain. Why do you think Lingxi had to come back today? Is it because of their sisterly relationship? Isn't it? Guo and Han Jingqiao asked in surprise. Zhongli chuckled. The Ji family is a typical martial arts family. Although they have a lot of assets, money, and power, they're still ranked by their strength. Before he could finish, Guo interrupted him. She played with her wavy hair and frowned. Uncle Ji and his siblings are very close. They're very close. That's because old master and old madam are pressuring him. Where there are people, there will be the underworld. Where there is money and power, there will be disputes. How many mistresses did Uncle Ji keep outside in order to have a strong son and daughter to stabilize his foundation? It's a pity that none of them are good enough. He doesn't even dare to bring them home. Zhongli sighed. Lingxi has shed countless tears because of this. She may seem like a carefree playboy, but she knows better than anyone else. She knows she can't achieve anything in martial arts, so she doesn't want to fight for anything. She just wants to maintain her current status and life. It's the most reasonable and practical choice for her to continue befriending Yan Zhika. Especially since she has an amazing boyfriend, the kind that's really amazing. Lu Qing had been interacting with the heavenly sons of China recently, making it seem like there were many young martial artists of this level. In fact, there might not even be one in several provinces. At least Zhongli and Han Jingqiao were around. Previously, only Lin Ke was slightly close. In a situation where a high-ranked Dan stage inhuman could become the upper class of a province, it was normal for the heavenly sons of China, who had a high chance of reaching the physical invulnerability stage, to be highly valued. Brotherly. Han Jingqiao was stunned. He couldn't help but gasp. You're really good at hiding your strength. You see things so clearly. Zhongli sneered. My family has a lot of people. If I were really stupid, I would have been swallowed up by others. How could I be the young master? He sighed again. I'm really envious of Lu Qing and the others. They're strong and don't have to worry about scheming. Anyway, I'm waiting for a chance to help him or be helped by him. Either way, it would improve their relationship. In the guest room of the Ji family's old house, Lu Qing didn't try to sneak into the room under the watch of a physical invulnerability expert. After washing up, he lay on the bed and received a call from his mother. After a few words, Qi Fang said mysteriously, Your brother has made a fortune recently. Huh? Lu Cheng was dumbfounded. Lu Yanwei really succeeded in starting his own business? I haven't heard him mention it recently. Erzi has expanded his business to Shushan. He asked your brother to help him and even gave him shares. Qi Fang gossiped excitedly. She wasn't jealous because of this. After all, her son was very promising and not just anyone could catch up with him. Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment. Who's Erzi? Qi Fang didn't know what to say. After a while, she said, he's a relative from Qingfu. He often comes to visit your grandparents recently. Ah, I remember now. He's a nice guy. Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. He has no taste. How could he ask your brother for help? Look at how many things he has failed. Chi Fong insisted that Lu Yanwei didn't have the ability to start his own business. It doesn't matter. After all, we're not the ones who suffer losses. Lu Qing laughed. That's true. Also, your dad got promoted recently. Fatty Gua put him in charge of the whole factory and gave him shares. Cheng, don't you think it's because of you? You just won the national championship and Fatty Gua mentioned it. What's that idiom? What's that? Chi Fong didn't know much about it. Icing on the cake. Lu Qing helped his mother add, Fatty Gua is a nice guy. Didn't he help me in my hour of need back then? That's true. Anyway, if he really asks you for help, don't worry about us. Help if you can. Don't worry if you can't. Chi Fong said with concern. Yes, yes, yes. Lu Qing replied with a smile. After the phone call ended and the surroundings quieted down, he sighed with emotion. After he won the national championship and gained the reputation of being the heavenly son of the age, everything around him was changing. It might have happened in the past, but it was definitely not as obvious as now. Without him saying anything, the fate of his relatives and friends had changed. Until now, Lu Qing really understood what it meant to change one's status. Chapter 421. While Lu Qing was on the phone with Chi Fong, Ji Lingxi kicked off her slippers and sat cross-legged on the bed in Yan Zhika's private bedroom. She looked at her cousin who had just changed into her nightgown with a faint smile. Ku, you're so good at keeping secrets. Do you still think I'm your sister? I saw you hugging Lu Qing in the finals a few days ago. That's how I guessed you two were together. If it were before today, Yan Zhika would have been a little proud of her cousin's words. However, the truth told by Lu Qing had dispelled her complacency. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She replied, I didn't mean to lie to anyone. Grandpa and Grandma already knew. Sister Lingxi, it's because you're living too freely and don't care about me. That's why you didn't find out, right? She had kept it a secret for a long time. Except for her father, she couldn't keep it a secret from anyone. Why was she so careful with Cheng in the beginning? Ji Lingxi was at a loss for words. She combed her hair and said, Didn't I tell you that some guys wanted to pursue you? What did you tell me? I don't want to find a boyfriend for the time being. Isn't that a lie? She changed her voice and tone to Yan Zhika's to describe the original words. I didn't lie to you. I already have a boyfriend. Of course I won't find another one. I have to be wholehearted in love. How can I have a foot in two boats? Yan Zhika retorted righteously. As she spoke, her lips curved into an unconcealable smile. I've already thought about how to explain it. Ji Lingxi's mouth twitched. She said bitterly, I really want to pinch your face. In childhood, Yan Zhika had cute baby fat. Ji Lingxi almost developed the hobby of pinching her face. Without waiting for her cousin to speak, she changed the topic and gossiped excitedly. Ku, when did you and Qing get together? How long? She had asked similar questions on QQ before, but Yan Zhika always changed the topic skillfully. She didn't want to share her and Cheng's private affairs with others, even her cousin. Now, Ji Lingxi finally had a chance to interrogate her directly. Yan Zhika's eyebrows twitched. She pursed her pink lips and answered reluctantly, We got together on Valentine's Day last year. Speaking of this, she suddenly felt sweet and unknowingly added, He chased after me for a semester. Ayaya, I really want Qing to chase after me again. I didn't feel anything back then and didn't get to enjoy it properly. Valentine's Day last year? At that time, Lu Qing hadn't reached 9th pin yet, right? Ji Lingxi recalled the introduction she had read about Lu Qing. Probably a weak 9th pin, Yan Zhika retorted seriously. Ji Lingxi took a deep breath and furrowed her brows. She said in surprise, in other words, when you two got together, he was just a newcomer who didn't show any signs of becoming a heavenly son of the age at all? Ku, you have good taste. At that time, I didn't think that he would be so talented as to reach rank 6 so quickly. Yenjika rolled her eyes and bit her pink lips. She said, I just felt that he was silly and very attentive to me. Yes, very attentive. He was also very motivated and willing to work hard. Chatting with him and going through the challenge tournament with him were very interesting. That's why I fell in love with him. As she spoke, her tone gradually softened. Obvious sweetness and happiness overflowed between her eyebrows. Her eyes were like ripples in the spring breeze. At this moment, Ji Lingxi felt that her cousin was too beautiful to look at directly. She was blinded by the happiness in her words. Why? Why were all my 3 boyfriends useless and unmotivated? But Cook could pick an old classmate who had just reached 9th pin and pick a heavenly son of the age? Was there really something wrong with her taste or the standard of her choice? After Yenjika finished her narration, she stopped reminiscing and looked at her cousin with gentle and bright eyes. She waved her white hand in front of her. Sister Lingxi. Ji Lingxi came back to her senses and decided not to continue this topic that would make her feel sad. She chuckled and said, Ku, did I disturb you and Lu Cheng by calling you before? Yenjika was stunned at first, but then she understood. Thinking of the charm in the car, she couldn't help but blush and deny it. Of course not. Hey, I'm experienced. First love aside, I have at least 2 serious ones. When you picked up the phone, even as a woman, my heart skipped a beat. If it were a man, he would have knelt down and said, okay, I'll listen to you. I'll give you whatever you want. Ji Lingxi said. Ji Lingxi teased. She reached out and poked her cousin's collarbone. Besides, isn't there physical evidence? Yenjika looked down blankly and saw a red, obvious kiss mark on her delicate collarbone. Her collar was wrinkled with gauze and covered her collarbone in a refined and elegant manner. Even Lu Qing didn't notice that he had left a mark. It was only when she changed into her nightgown that everything was exposed. All of a sudden, Yenjika felt her face burning. She wished she could find a hole and hide in it. She had a subtle feeling of being caught red-handed in bed. She jumped out of bed in embarrassment and anger and ran to the dressing mirror. She took a selfie on her collarbone and sent it to Lu Cheng. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. My cousin saw it. Lu Cheng had just finished lamenting that the fate of his relatives and friends had changed because of him when he saw the girl's message. I was too excited just now. Ji Lingxi saw the whole process of Yenjika getting out of bed and taking a selfie. She suddenly felt a sense of loss. This was the kind of pureness and passion that only real first love had. Her first love, which was like a child's play, came to an abrupt end. It couldn't even be considered a first love. By the time she fell in love with him for the second time, she loved him so much that they hurt each other so much that they broke up in the end. By the time she had a boyfriend for the 3rd time, her heart had already aged. She thought more and did less. She was no longer pure and unrestrained. Seeing Yenjika come back bashfully, Ji Lingxi adjusted her mood and smiled. Cool, let's sleep together tonight. I have a lot of things to ask you. Okay. Yenjika hesitated for a while and then nodded. When Ji Lingxi went back to the bedroom to take a shower and change into her nightgown, she lay on the bed and buried her face in the pillow. She raised her legs and swung them. She had planned to calm down and get rid of the blush on her cheeks. However, she inexplicably recalled the passion by the river and the panic between them. Yenjika suddenly sat up and bit her lower lip. She picked up her phone and opened the search page. She seriously thought about the brand and model of the car she had driven before. Then, she bashfully typed a line of words in the search bar with a hint of a smile. Can the passenger seat of XXX car be flat? How do I do it? Click. The search results refreshed. Yenjika had just browsed a few when she suddenly received a message from her boyfriend. Cool, what's the brand and model of the car we just drove out of? Lu Qing asked with an emoji pushing up his sunglasses. Seeing the familiar question, Yenjika's face turned red again. She replied with 2 words, pervert. Pervert? Lu Qing looked at the inexplicable answer and scratched his head in confusion. I just thought that this car was good. It was fast and stable. If I need a car in the future, I can consider it. That's why I asked. How did I become a pervert? The next morning, Lu Qing temporarily put his doubts to the back of his mind. He got up on time, washed up, and went out. He found a corner in the spacious courtyard of the Ji family's old house. Breathing in the fresh air, he visualized the swordsman formula and the corresponding internal training methods of Frost Force and Zhu Rong Force. The injury on his arm would be healed by the end of May. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to practice his moves. Instead, he concentrated his qi and blood to comprehend the force concentration of the balance between ice and fire. In practice, he felt the experience of the yin and yang two forms that old Master Ji had shown him yesterday. The key to the inhuman level was the strengthening of one's willpower and the improvement of one's mental control over one's root pulp. Under the accumulation of internal training, one's body would show signs of supernatural abilities, and one's quality would change. However, this did not mean that one could enter the inhuman level seamlessly with supernatural abilities. Possessing certain characteristics due to this realm and possessing similar characteristics due to certain characteristics were completely different. They were fundamentally different. Lu Cheng's ice and fire supernatural ability came from the stimulation of the Jin Dan and the blending of power, which was different from his Frost Force and Zhu Rong Force. If he wanted to enter the inhuman level, he still had to follow the prescribed internal training and change his root pulp so that it was compatible with the martial arts instead of the Jin Dan. When the supernatural ability of ice and fire, Frost Force, and Zhu Rong Force were perfectly integrated, there would be no difference. That was one of the main conditions to enter the inhuman level. His qi and blood, spirit, and force all contracted and embraced each other in balance. Then, they quickly collapsed and rushed out. Lu Qing observed the subtle changes in his body, looking for the traces of the changes of yin and yang, ice and fire. Unknowingly, the sky was bright and the sun was piercing. Lu Qing put away his stance and exhaled a mouthful of foul air, ending the morning training. His physical qualities were not at the level of the top sixth pin. How could he enter the inhuman level in one step? Calming down, Lu Qing returned to the house and met Ji Jianzhang and Dou Ning, who had also returned from training. They nodded in satisfaction. After breakfast, Ji Lingxi went out to sea to play. Yan Jika's stomach started to hurt, so she went back to her room to lie down. Lu Qing went to sleep beside her and rubbed her stomach with his warm hands. Yan Jika felt the familiar support and the care to relieve the pain. She felt that the pain was not so bad. Sneaking a glance at Lu Qing, she suddenly recalled what her cousin, Ji Lingxi, had said last night. "Ku, are you still going abroad?" "Yes." "Are you willing to give up your Lu Qing? Are you not afraid? Are you not afraid of problems?" "I believe in him and I believe in myself." "Then enjoy it. There is only 1 year and 3 months left." Hearing this, Yan Jika's mood inexplicably darkened. She couldn't help but lean closer to Lu Qing. There is only 1 year left. I have to cherish every day with Qing. After the pain of the first day passed, Lu Qing and Yan Jika had a good time in Lin Ning with their tour guide, Ji Lingxi. On the afternoon of the 4th, they set off on their return journey. In the past few days, except for her aunt who went to Shushan study to take care of Lin Kei, Yan Jika's uncles, Ling Feng and Ling Yun all had excuses to not come back. When they returned to campus, Lu Qing and Yan Jika's life was once again fulfilling. Every day, they had to work overtime to make up for the classes they missed. Fortunately, during the national competition, they rarely went out. After watching the videos of their opponents, they spent most of their time studying. Finally, they caught up with the progress before the final exam and were confident about their grades. After the last exam, Yan Jika was about to wait for Lu Qing when the class monitor told her to go to the school office. "Qing, I'm going to the lower house office. Wait for me after the exam." She sent a message with her dimples. Then she followed the class monitor to the dean's office and saw 3 classmates who were in the same training program as her. When the dean saw that everyone was present, he crossed his arms and coughed. Ivan University has made a request. They hope that the training program can be advanced by 1 year and you can go there in your 3rd year. This way, you can adapt better and learn better. The school has thought about it and thinks it's a good idea. Seeing the dean's mouth open and close, Yenjika didn't hear the rest of his words. There was only one thought echoing in her mind. 1 year ahead, 1 year ahead. Chapter 422. 1 year in advance, 1 year in advance. At this moment, Yenjika didn't feel happy at all. Instead, she felt flustered and sad, as if she had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. At the beginning of May, when Ji Lingxi asked her if she still insisted on going abroad, her answer was firm and resolute. However, when everything happened in advance, she suddenly felt the strong reluctance in her heart. She had promised to go drifting with Qing during the summer vacation, to go to the northern lands to see the aurora in January next year, to spend her and Cheng's 21st birthday together, to go to Yuanyang Mountain to ask for the lock of love on their 2nd anniversary together, to announce their relationship after meeting his parents, to stick together every day, and to whisper sweet nothings to each other. She thought too much, promised too much, and had too little time. Bring the materials. I just mentioned here as soon as possible. The school will help you with all the procedures. If everything goes well, you can leave at the beginning of August. There will be a short-term language training program. I believe it will be easy for you with your foreign language foundation. Well, you can go back now. If you can't remember the materials, here is the list. The dean stroked his increasingly precious hair tenderly. Early August? It's the end of June. That means there is only 1 month left. In 30 days, I will be separated from Cheng. I can only see him 2 or 3 times a year. Yenjika suddenly felt breathless and her heart tightened. She endured the sudden throbbing, took the list blankly, and followed the students in front of her out of the dean's office. Yenjika. Suddenly, she heard a slightly shrill voice. Yenjika came back to herself and looked up at Huang Shiwen. Huang Shiwen was the one who had received the same training quota as her. Huang Shiwen was the one who had called her just now. What? Yenjika responded blankly. What were you thinking about? I said, when we get there, we can live together, okay? We know each other and are classmates. We can take care of each other. Huang Shiwen complained and repeated what she had just said. Her chubby face washed away her gorgeous features, making her easy to get close to. The 2 boys beside her were also discussing the same thing. Yenjika was a girl who would never cry when she was sad. She was used to keeping all kinds of negative emotions in the bottom of her heart and not letting them out. When Huang Shiwen finished, she had already controlled herself and answered with a faint smile, okay, if there is no other arrangement at home. They were all classmates and didn't lack each other's contact information. Without saying much, they parted ways in front of the school building, each with their own business. On the way to the basic teaching building, Yenjika wandered under the shade of the trees, tasting the reluctance and nostalgia in her heart. She had been gone for at most 5 to 6 years, or at least 3 to 4 years. She had been gone for more than 1,000 days and nights, longer than the time I had spent with Cheng. There were many accidents, many coincidences, many tests, and many suspicions. If she was not careful, her feelings would be fragile and dissipate. Even if I don't go abroad, I can still study deeply, share the Empress Dowager's worries, and do whatever I want in the field I like. Wouldn't it be nice to be with Cheng every day, accompanying him as he climbed to the peak of martial arts, sharing his pain and suffering, feeling his happiness, anger and sadness, and watching each other grow old bit by bit until the end? But if I really give up, I will regret it for the rest of my life. I will feel that my years of effort have been wasted. I will feel that my personality is no longer complete and I will become Cheng's accessory, dream or love. Once again, Yenjika sighed as if a hero's breath was short of love. Maybe it's really like what Dad and Empress Dowager said. It's best not to fall in love in college and to go easy. At this moment, a melody inexplicably appeared in her mind. If there is no you and no past, I won't be sad. But if there is an if, I will still love you. Yes, no matter what, I still want to love that silly Cheng. Yenjika bit her lip. Her emotions rose and fell. After a painful struggle, she decided to take the opportunity to study abroad. I believe in myself and Cheng. I believe that we can withstand the test of time and distance. I believe that we can finally walk together and go through all the hardships and happiness in life. Phew. She spat out the melancholy and sadness in her heart. Then she heard the special notification sound of her phone. She took it out of her bag and found that it was a message from Lu Cheng. Ku, are you still not done? Do you want me to pick you up at your school building? Yenjika's eyes turned red because of this simple sentence. She turned her head and looked aside. After a while, she replied with an expression that looked like she was crying and laughing at the same time. I'm done. You stand there and wait for me. Her fingers paused in the middle of typing and then she pretended to type the last few words. I'll pick you up, okay, the usual place. Lu Cheng replied with a silly smile. At this moment, his phone suddenly rang. It was from his mother. Hello, Cheng. Have you finished your exams? How do you feel? Chi Fong asked about his studies out of habit. Just right. Not bad. Lu Cheng couldn't find any other words to describe it. His grades were probably above 60 or 70. He probably didn't fail any subjects. Chi Fong didn't really care about her son's studies. After a short sentence, she asked the key question. When will you come back? Have you booked the tickets? She lowered her voice and said excitedly, Cheng, why don't you bring that classmate of yours home and let Mom and Dad meet her? It's that Yenjika. You two are destined to meet. High school classmate, college classmate, martial arts club teammate. After defeating Shanbei in the finals, Yenjika and Lu Cheng hugged each other passionately and almost kissed each other, which blinded a group of single dogs. At the same time, it also exposed their relationship in front of Lu Jisheng and Chi Fong. That night, during their daily call, Lu Cheng witnessed his mother's ability to gossip and was bombarded for a long time. After her son finally grew up and had a wife, he almost forgot about his mother. Chi Fong was quite satisfied with Yenjika, who was very good in all aspects. Plus, they were from the same hometown, so she was more satisfied with them. She kept urging her son to bring his girlfriend back and let them meet her. To be honest, if her son didn't win the national championship and was called the heavenly son of the age, she felt that she would be more nervous. She was worried that her son didn't deserve her daughter-in-law and that they would fall in love in the future. Yes, that's right, that's a phrase she just learned from TV. Mom, I've told Ku that I'll bring her to our house when I'm free when I'm back in Shushan. Lu Cheng didn't specify a specific day because he still wanted to abduct Ku and try to find a place to go on a trip with her before they returned to Shushan. Okay. You have to tell me in advance. I have to go grocery shopping and prepare a welcome gift. Chi Fong rambled on. Suddenly, she remembered something. Come to my door, come to my door. Oh, last summer, didn't Han Er's wife say that a very beautiful girl came to our neighborhood? I wonder whose girlfriend she is. Cheng, tell me honestly, it's Yenjika, right? She's here for you, right? Yes. Lu Cheng wiped his cold sweat and admired his mother's memory of gossip. Of course, he also had a deep impression of this matter because it was the first time in his memory that he saw and felt the beautiful body of a girl in real life. Moreover, it was the body of his beloved girl. You two were together at that time? Chi Fong's voice suddenly rose. You're all grown up now, aren't you? You hid it from me for almost a year. Mom, I was wrong. I wanted to tell you after my relationship with Ku had been confirmed. Lu Cheng's apology came naturally to his mother. Practice made perfect. Chi Fong wasn't angry. She pondered for a moment and said, I told you that you look very smart in your clothes for more than a year. Fortunately, her son dared to bring his girlfriend home secretly after he went to college, unlike the others who were caught fooling around at home in junior high or high school. After chatting for a while, Lu Qing hung up the phone and saw Ku walking quickly toward him. She was dressed in a t-shirt, denim shorts, and white sneakers, which showed the youthful look of a student. "What are you going to do in the institute?" Lu Qing asked with concern. Yen Jika pursed her lips and lowered her eyebrows. She smiled and said, "There are some changes to the training plan. I'll tell you after it's confirmed." "Who were you talking to on the phone?" "My mom. She urged me to take you home to meet my parents." Lu Qing raised his eyebrows and smiled deliberately. He muttered in his heart, "Some changes?" "What changes?" He always paid special attention to Coach Yan's affairs. Yen Jika, who wanted to say something coquettishly, opened her mouth a few times and only said 3 words with a smile, "Okay." "Aren't you nervous?" Lu Qing asked in surprise. Yen Jika was amused. She stared at him and said, "It's because you keep telling me that your parents are very nice and satisfied with me. I'm not nervous." "You're right. It's good that you're not nervous." Lu Qing asked with expectation, "Then when do we go back? How about we find a place to hang out for a few days and have a date?" Yen Jika raised her eyebrows and looked at him deeply. She took the initiative to suggest, "Well, let's hang out in Songqing for a few days." There were too many memories of her and Qing here. "Okay, I'll make a guide later. Let's see what's worth playing and eating in Songqing." Lu Qing didn't really care where they went. What was important was to be with his little fairy. Yen Jika tilted her head and outlined her dimples. She waved her hand, happily, "Let's go to the aquarium in the afternoon. We've been talking about going but we've missed it." Speaking of this, she laughed and said, "How much do you remember about marine biology?" "I've almost forgotten." Lu Qing deliberately covered his face and sighed. Yen Jika laughed and said, "That's good. Otherwise, I'll look very ignorant. I'll go back and change my clothes and wipe my face first. I have to take my date with Qing seriously." Infected by his girlfriend's unexpected excitement and joy, Lu Qing was in high spirits. After returning to the dormitory, he quickly packed his luggage and waved goodbye to Zhao Cheng, Kai Zongming, and the others. It was cool today, not as hot as a few days ago. Lu Qing waited for a while and saw Yen Jika coming out with a suitcase. She had changed her clothes. She was wearing a white cotton skirt, a pink jacket, a pair of cute canvas shoes and skin-tight stockings. Her face was covered with light makeup, which made her already beautiful face even more radiant. This was how she looked when she invited Lu Qing to the aquarium in March last year. Lu Qing was really amazed at that time and had a deep impression of her. After taking the suitcase, he said with confusion and amusement, "Ku, are you going to relive the past? You still remember?" Yen Jika asked in surprise. "Of course, I almost couldn't move my eyes away. How could I forget?" Lu Qing said with a smile. Yen Jika chuckled a little complacently, clenched her fist, and waved it. "This is a date to make up for last year's regret, so it's still the same. I'm looking forward to it." Lu Qing replied with a bright smile. Then he coughed and said with expectation, "I've already booked a hotel. Just 1 room, with my current relationship with Ku, there's no need to secretly book 2 rooms, right?" "Okay." Yen Jika looked forward and nodded slightly. Chapter 423. Lu Qing was overjoyed to hear his girlfriend's affirmative answer. He quickened his pace and felt that they had made a breakthrough in their relationship. He didn't continue to mention the accommodation because he didn't want to aggravate her shyness. Instead, he started to ponder. A date to make up for last year's regret? Everything as usual? But I don't remember what I was wearing at that time. Yen Jika thought about it seriously and burst into laughter. I don't remember either. She only remembered Cheng's tired face, his slightly wrinkled eyebrows, and his movements that made her want to kiss him. Thinking of this, she pursed her lips and lowered her head. Her eyes flickered as she looked at her toes. She wrapped her arms around her boyfriend's arms and leaned closer to him. It's okay. Rough guys wear the same clothes every day. Just put up with it. There's no difference. Lu Qing mocked himself in the way girls usually did. While talking and laughing, they boarded the school bus and arrived downtown. They found the 5-star hotel that Lu Qing had booked. While walking to the front desk, Yenjika suddenly stopped and looked aside. She pretended to take out her ID card from her bag and said, "You go and check in. I'll wait for you here." As she spoke, an unnatural blush appeared on her cheeks. Seeing this, Lu Qing understood. He held back his laughter and took the girl's ID card. He said calmly, "Okay." Previously, when he didn't return home at night, he had booked 2 rooms at first and then cancelled them later. Moreover, he had always appeared alone and asked Ku to face the front desk with him. Just one room was indeed difficult for a shy girl like her. Well, after a few more times, she would get used to it. Now, she would leave it to a thick-skinned boy. Hee hee. Putting down their luggage, Lu Qing came to the front desk and handed over their ID cards. "We booked it online." The girl at the front desk looked up at him and was suddenly stunned. She blurted out, "Lu Qing? You know me?" Lu Qing asked in amusement. "Yes." The girl at the front desk nodded hard. "I watched your national competition. I really liked your performance. You were so awesome and handsome." She was a little excited. "Well, I'm really famous now. I have to wear glasses as a disguise." Lu Qing thought and smiled. Thank you. Give me your autograph later." The receptionist picked up his ID card and began to check in. She was stunned for a moment and said, "2 people? This is King embarrassing." Lu Qing said shamelessly, "Yeah, me and my girlfriend." "Oh." The girl at the front desk didn't say anything else. She quickly made a copy of his ID card and completed the check-in procedures. In the end, she handed the form to Lu Qing and said, "Sign your name here. Also, sign your name on this piece of paper for me. For you shall we." After he was done, Lu Qing took the room card and returned to Yenjika. 1506. Yenjika looked at the receptionist curiously. "What were you talking about?" "The girl at the front desk has watched the nationals and knows me. She asked me for an autograph," Lu Qing answered honestly. Yenjika froze for a moment, her face turning bright red at a speed visible to the naked eye. She hurriedly turned around and said shyly to the door, I don't live here anymore." The first time she shared a room with Qing, she met his fans. I am too ashamed to meet them. If I had known, I would have checked in alone and let Qing sneak into the room." "What are you afraid of?" "We are perfectly justified." Lu Qing comforted her with a smile. "We have already gotten the room card. Others have already begun to think what they want. Just let them be." Yenjika had the mentality to throw away everything. She restrained her emotions and followed her boyfriend to the 15th floor, putting their luggage in the room. "What are we having for lunch?" Lu Qing looked at the cloudy sky outside the window and asked. Their exam was the first round, which ended at 10 o'clock. It was only 12 o'clock now. Yenjika didn't think, as if she had already thought of the answer. "Spicy crab on the tripod. The one where we had our first date." How could Lu Qing forget this? "Yeah. I want to reminisce." Yenjika nodded cutely. After a little tidying up, they went out hand in hand and took a taxi to the place where they had their first date last year. Luckily, the door was still open. Lu Qing looked at the sign of "Spicy Crab" on the tripod, and felt happy. For the place that carried his beautiful memories, he definitely hoped that it would stay there forever and never change. So did Yenjika. Her dimples deepened and her smile became sweeter. When they entered the restaurant, the waiter was just about to greet them. Before he could say anything, Lu Qing saw the price tag and said quickly, "2, the one that costs 199 yuan, 12 crab, hand-fried noodles, shrimp dumplings, beef." The waiter was stunned for a few seconds and said, Please slow down. I'll remember it. Shouldn't you order the crab first and then check the other options on the menu after sitting down? Yenjika couldn't hide her smile. These were all the dishes they had ordered on their first date, but the quantity was more than double. Ching still remembers. Her eyes softened and she deliberately said jokingly, "Wow, you're getting better at answering first. Hey, they're all the dishes we ordered last time." Lu Qing led Ku to a seat and sat down. "You still remember?" Yenjika rested her chin on one hand and looked at him with bright eyes. Lu Qing chuckled and said, "At that time, I observed what you liked to eat and what you didn't like to eat, so I had some impression of the dishes you ordered. At first, it was a little vague, and I only had a vague memory of it. Now that I am here, I remember it." Listening to her boyfriend showing off, Yenjika's eyes welled up with tears. She quickly turned her head to the side and held back the throbbing in her heart. After a few seconds, she changed the topic and said coquettishly, "I also paid attention to what you didn't like, but you didn't eat anything. This shows that I'm easy to take care of. I eat whatever I'm given." Lu Qing smiled and praised himself. Well, if little Ming was opposite, he would probably say, "Do you eat sh*t if I give you sh*t? But Ku would definitely not do that. "Then I'll give you the leftovers in the future." Yenjika tried to make her tone light. As usual, the two ate to their heart's content. Their appetite was so big that they ordered 2 more dishes. The waiter was stunned. He saw the boss and insisted on giving them VIP cards. In such a mid-priced restaurant with no luxurious dishes, the two of them could eat more than 3,000 yuan. No matter where they were, they could get the VIP treatment. After finishing their meal, Lu Qing and Yenjika walked along the route of their first date. "Qing, do you still remember where you held my hand?" the girl asked with great interest. Lu Qing seriously recalled and said with self-mockery, "I didn't pay attention to where we were and where we were. My mind was full of whether to hold your hand, how to hold it, and whether you would shake it off. When we really held hands, I was so excited and happy that I forgot the directions. I only had you and your hand in my heart. It was like walking on clouds, so light that I wanted to fly." Yenjika pursed her lips and rolled her eyes. She seemed to really feel her boyfriend's state at that time. It was as if a sudden joy hit her heart. She turned her head and looked at the side of the street. She was actually a bit shaken by the decision she made in the morning. "What about you? Do you still remember where we tied the knot?" Lu Qing asked in reply. Yenjika rolled her eyes and pouted. "If you don't remember, how can I remember? At that time, I was very nervous. My mind was on your hand that kept leaning towards me. I wondered if you were going to hold my hand, how I should react, whether I would hurt you, whether I was reserved enough, whether I was. In short, my mind was full of random thoughts. I was lucky that I didn't bump into anyone else. Later on, I realized that you were stupid and silly, and even held hands foolishly. My heart softened, and I inexplicably took the initiative to hold your hand." Speaking of this, both of them completely recalled the naivety, ignorance, sweetness, and passion of that time. They smiled at each other and raised their hands that had been intertwined since they came out of the meal. Although they didn't have the mentality of not knowing where to go when holding hands, they held hands more calmly and firmly. There was a faint sense of permanence. In this way, the two walked side by side on the street, warm and sweet. "Do you remember that we bought a fresh cream cake here?" Lu Qing smiled and pointed at the sign of Mimi bread. Yenjika bit her lip and chuckled. "Not only do I remember that, but I also remember that someone lied to me." "Ah." Lu Qing was at a loss. "Someone told me that the fresh cream cake here was not so sweet and was suitable for me. He said he found it on the internet." Yenjika hummed. "The sweetness was just right, but I couldn't find this shop on the internet." Lu Qing suddenly realized what was going on. He smiled embarrassedly. "I came here to check it out and try it. At that time, didn't you say that you still need to adjust your mentality and not fully prepared? I was afraid that if I said it it would be like forcing you to be moved and giving you too much pressure. Before he finished, Yenjika's eyes were already red and rippling. She suddenly took a step forward and threw herself into his arms. She hugged him tightly and buried her face in his shoulder. What's wrong? Lu Cheng was startled. Yenjika tried to hold back her tears. Can't I be moved? Hee. Lu Cheng stroked the girl's glossy black hair and smiled contentedly. It was always a joyful thing to get a response for one's efforts. Let's buy another fresh cream cake later and eat it together tonight. After a while, Yenjika withdrew from Lu Cheng's arms and her expression returned to normal. Okay. Lu Cheng pulled her into the bakery. After buying the cake, they took a taxi to the ocean aquarium. This time, there was no unexpected situation to interrupt them. Look, this is a starfish. After tearing it into pieces, each piece can become a new starfish. Lu Cheng pointed to a creature behind the glass. Yenjika was surprised. Didn't you say that you had almost forgotten your marine biology? When I was waiting for you, I crammed it again. Lu Cheng answered complacently and pointed to a kind of marine creature. It is, damn it, I forgot. I failed to show off and became a clown. Haha. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed until tears came out. After a long time, she wiped her eyes and said, there should be an introduction beside it. If you really can't find it, I'll allow you to search it on your phone, commentator Lu. They laughed and laughed until the aquarium was closed. They found the restaurant where they had their second date and enjoyed dinner. Lu Cheng pretended to go to the bathroom and went downstairs to buy a bouquet of flowers as usual. Beauty, you dropped something. He put his left hand behind his back and smiled at Yenjika. Familiar lines and familiar scenes. Yenjika opened her mouth little by little and her eyes were covered with tears. She forced a smile. Flowers? Yes, you dropped it. Lu Cheng bowed slightly like a gentleman and handed the flowers to the girl. Yenjika held the flowers and quickly closed her eyes, pretending to smell the fragrance. After a long time, she looked at Lu Cheng and said, but I dropped something else. What? Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Yenjika's eyes flashed like water. She pursed her lips and turned her head. Boyfriend. Lu Cheng burst into laughter and directly sat next to the girl. Their fingers were intertwined. While he was happy, he inexplicably felt that Ku was a little clingy today. After dinner and a walk, Yenjika and Lu Cheng returned to the hotel with the flowers and cake. The light in the room was dim. Outside the window, there was a river of stars. It was quiet and private. Lu Cheng, who had shared a bed many times, couldn't help but think as if he was looking forward to something. At this moment, Yenjika put the bouquet on the table and sat on the edge of the bed. She touched her calf and stomach and said softly, I feel so sore when I walk. Cheng, come and help me massage my feet. Pinch my legs. This was a common thing between the two of them, so there was nothing strange about it. However, as she spoke, she suddenly blushed. Unable to hide her shyness, she lowered her head and looked at her right hand that was supporting the bed. Her right hand was as beautiful as a budding flower. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Chapter 424. Was Ku inviting someone to join her? While thinking of this, he forgot about the fresh cream cake and threw it aside. He walked to the bedside, squatted down and held Yenjika's left ankle. Just as he touched her silky smooth skin, he suddenly heard the girl's skin and muscles trembling. He heard her heart beating faster and faster. He heard her body temperature gradually increasing. This reaction was completely different from the usual before a massage. Dong dong dong. Every heartbeat of Yenjika's seemed to resonate with Lu Cheng's heart, making his mouth dry and his body hot. He was inexplicably looking forward to something. There was no other contact, no other ambiguity. He already felt his blood vessels swelling as he tried to do it as usual. During this process, Yenjika's heart beat faster and faster. Lu Qing held his breath, feeling that he was about to turn into a werewolf. Dong dong dong. The slightest provocation was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, like the call from the little fairy, like the starting gun. Lu Qing suddenly lost control and lowered his head. This place has been sacrificed to the divine beast. The night was short, but the passion was long. After a series of ups and downs, Lu Qing woke up under the urging of his biological clock. His nose was filled with a faint fragrance, and his body was warm and soft. Everything was like a beautiful dream. Recalling the events of last night, he unconsciously revealed a silly smile. He only felt that his body and mind were satisfied, and his spirit was perfect. Everything in this world was so beautiful. He raised his head slightly and looked at Yenjika, who was curled up in his arms like a child. He looked at her painful and pure expression, which made him want to protect her. He looked at her beautiful face, which was set off by her long black hair. He felt the girl's delicate skin and the touch that he couldn't bear to part with. He felt her clinging to him as if she was afraid of losing him. Lu Qing felt that his heart was about to melt. He could still hear the words, Qing, echoing in his ears. This was the fusion of spirit and flesh. This was the other person I was closest to. This is the girl I want to protect for the rest of my life. He lowered his head devoutly and kissed the girl's long eyelashes and red lips. His hands began to move unconsciously, making the early morning hostility even more fierce. I won't do it again. Yenjika hit him in a daze and mumbled. She turned over and fell asleep again. It took Lu Qing a great deal of willpower to get out of bed. He even began to worry about how upset Ku would feel if she didn't see him when she woke up. He almost didn't want to go for his morning exercise. Is this what Ku always says? Long love is short of breath? He laughed at himself, changed his clothes, and went out. He found a place nearby and began to train. Both his mind and body were very excited. Although he had slept for less than 2 hours last night, he did not feel tired at all. People are in high spirits when faced with happy events. After finishing the rest of the internal training, Lu Qing once again tried to comprehend the force concentration. He felt that his willpower had become stronger and firmer. He felt that no one or anything could defeat him. This is the life I want to protect. Ice and fire intertwined, embracing each other in a balanced manner. Amidst the surging and gushing power, it drew the response of the most minute part of his body. The cold light flickered, and the dark flames danced. Lu Qing finally grasped the signs in the perfect reflection of his soul. He grasped the minute details that made up every cell and every bone and blood in his body. This is the root pulp. He opened his eyes, feeling even happier. Grasping the root pulp meant that he was beginning to reach the inhuman realm. This was not a sufficient condition for a breakthrough, but a necessary condition. Since returning at the beginning of May, after nearly 2 months of training, his physical quality had reached the level of the top 6th pin. He originally thought that he would have to wait for a while for the next improvement. Who knew that after a night of dancing with fish and dragon, his mind was settled, his spirit was refreshed, and his willpower was restored. Naturally, his level increased again. There are still 6 months until the end of the year. I have a good chance of pushing that threshold. Lu Qing thought happily. Then he put away his stance and hurried back, not wanting to waste a single second. The curtains were closed, but the room was still dark. A strange but exciting smell filled the air. Lu Qing saw that Yenjika was still asleep. He sucked on his fingers, and the smile on his face grew wider. He felt more peaceful and happy. He quickly took off his clothes, took a quick shower, and got into bed. He hugged his soft and fragrant fairy and slept with her until noon. When he woke up, Yenjika's eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. Then she enjoyed a warm wake-up kiss. Morning, no, good afternoon. Lu Qing put his elbows on the bed and smiled in a low voice. Yenjika's eyebrows curved, and she reached out her hands to hold his neck. She smiled sweetly. Good afternoon, my dear. She no longer felt embarrassed to call him that. Just as Lu Cheng was considering whether to eat first or do something, Yenjika pursed her lips, and her eyes wavered. She gathered her courage and said, "Cheng, I have something to tell you. The training plan of our school has to be brought forward 1 year." She didn't sound determined at all. Instead, she showed some confusion and uncertainty, as if she was asking for help and an answer. Chapter 425. Lu Cheng, whose mind was filled with sweetness and happiness, couldn't digest what Yenjika had just mentioned. He was momentarily at a loss. When he came to his senses and understood what was going on, he was instantly struck by a huge sense of loss and sadness. His heart felt as if it was tightly gripped by an invisible hand. A year in advance? That is to say, in 2 months at most, or at least 1 month, Ku will go to a foreign country? The two of them had just joined spiritually and were glued to each other like glue. Right now, Lu Cheng only wished that he could be with his little fairy every minute and every second of every day. Just the thought of her going to stay at her grandfather's house for a few days during the summer and being separated from him made him feel lost. Every day felt like a year, not to mention that they would suddenly be separated from each other for a few years. At this moment, Lu Cheng's emotions were surging and boiling. He almost blurted out that he should let Ku give up the opportunity and choose to stay so that she wouldn't die. But when he saw the confused and struggling look in her eyes, he suddenly restrained himself and thought of more. This wasn't something he didn't expect at all. He was even mentally prepared for it. It was just that it was suddenly brought forward by a year. This wasn't a reluctant attempt by Ku after they started dating. It was a dream and a plan that had been made long before they met. In March of last year, she had already discussed this matter with him and obtained his consent. She was born with a deficiency. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't enter the dance stage. Her life's dream had slowly shifted to this matter in the past 5 or 6 years. She came from a well-off family. Even if she didn't do anything in the future, she wouldn't have to worry about her quality of life. The reason why she wanted to study abroad wasn't because she wanted to get a diploma, but because she had such an opportunity. An opportunity to follow the world's top scholars, an opportunity to roam the ocean. The Ji family was very influential in China, but in another big country, their reputation wasn't so good. Once this opportunity was missed, there might not be another one. When they first started dating, didn't Empress Dowager also make a request? 2 people need to sacrifice a certain amount to break in, but she didn't want to see Ku sacrifice her dream for me. Yenjika opened her clear eyes and looked at Lu Cheng with inexplicable anxiety. She was swayed, distressed, and struggling because of his silence. If Cheng wants me to stay, what should I say? I will. After the crazy idea she had last night, she decided to try the illusory probability and leave everything to God. The girl felt that she had once again lowered her bottom line. Her heart was filled with sweetness and bitterness. Since ancient times, love was the most torturous. At this moment, Lu Cheng squeezed out a smile and tried to speak in a casual tone. A year earlier? That's pretty good. Doesn't that mean we can come back a year earlier? Previously, I was worried that I would only be able to fly over and spend a few days with you after you left in your 4th year. Now, it's just right. My 3rd year is mainly to guide them and do my own preparation. There are very few competitions that I need to participate in. As for my studies, the dean has already told me that he will work hard to ensure that I graduate and successfully obtain a certificate. I will become the school's golden signboard. It doesn't matter how much I skip classes and take exams. Isn't it just a matter of getting a visa and traveling for more than 10 hours? Isn't it simple? Empress Dowager will probably stay with you for a while at first. After that, you can leave it to me. I will fly over once a month and stay for a week or 2. When you are on vacation, we can still go to the northern land to see the aurora. It's even more convenient. We can still travel to those special places. Yenjika stood there in a daze as she listened to his slightly long-winded and confused nagging. Her clear and beautiful eyes were gradually covered with tears. Also, my master has said that one needs to accumulate more knowledge and experience before reaching the physical invulnerability stage. Only then can one have a chance to leap over the dragon gate and soar into the sky. When I go over to accompany you, I can also experience the American martial arts. They are the center of the Western world and have different characteristics from our martial arts. They definitely have stronger aspects than us. Before Lu Qing could finish his words, Yenjika suddenly propped herself up and hugged him tightly. She buried her face in his well-defined chest and said in a choked voice, "Qing, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave you. Qing." Qing, her voice was like a reenactment of their first meeting. Lu Cheng's heart completely softened and almost melted. He took the opportunity to lie down and let the girl lie on his body. He reached out and stroked her hair that was slightly messy due to the sweat from last night. He smiled gently and said, "Silly girl, you really don't want to go?" The more sad and sentimental she was, the more she wouldn't cry. When Yenjika raised her head, she had already held back the throbbing of crying. Her pink lips moved a few times, but she couldn't give a definite answer. That master was very old. It was said that his health was getting worse year by year. If they missed this opportunity, not to mention whether he would still be alive, there would most likely be no more opportunities. Once such a situation occurred, the outstanding disciples he taught would definitely set up their own schools due to their differences in academic knowledge. There would no longer be such a holy land where so many top scholars gathered. Go. I hope you can become better and better with me, instead of sacrificing yourself. On the other hand, I also have to work hard to become a better version of myself. I can't be left behind by you. Lu Qing smiled softly while caressing her. But, you're giving up too much. Yenjika bit her lower lip with her white and neat teeth. Her voice was still lingering with hesitation. Why did the role change? Why am I persuading Ku to study abroad? Lu Qing smiled bitterly and answered seriously, two people are going to spend a lifetime together. How can we be entangled with who gives more and who gives less? Besides, you also have to give. Every time you have a holiday, you have to come back and accompany me. Every day, you have to insist on saying a few sweet words to me. When you encounter a problem or feel vulnerable, don't hide it from me. Tell me and I'll fly over immediately. After knowing that Yenjika was going to study abroad last year, he had been reading similar posts and summarizing other people's gains and losses. That was why he could say such words. Yes. I promise, I swear. Yenjika breathed a sigh of relief as if she had finally found the answer. She stopped struggling and pursed her lips, nodded, and cutely raised 3 fingers. Lu Qing turned back and scratched her cute nose. He smiled slightly and said, "You see, I have the ability and free time to fly over to see you at any time. I can accompany you for a few days, or even a dozen days, or even every month. Hee, absence makes the heart grow fonder. If the security there is not too good, I can also spend a lot of money to hire female dance stage seniors from Shushan Study or Ice God's sect to accompany you and protect you. And you can come back at least twice a year, or even more. In this way, the test of time and distance will be minimized. I read a book before. There's a very reasonable sentence in it. All the fear of a long-distance relationship is the hatred of one's own powerlessness." Speaking of this casually, he smiled and his eyes became firm. "Let me say something that may be a bit boastful. I've worked hard to improve my martial arts to reach my current level. Apart from my love for martial arts and my desire to compete with my idol, isn't the more important reason why I want to make the difficulties between us no longer be difficulties one day? Isn't it so that I can reduce the influence of various methods in the face of challenges and not be powerless? This is the true meaning of protection. If your girlfriend is abroad and you have money and time, but you are not willing to spend time to visit and maintain your relationship, no matter how well you say it, it's just to move yourself. That's all." Yenjika listened with drunken eyes. As soon as Lu Qing finished speaking, she crawled up, lowered her head, and pressed her moist lips on Lu Cheng's. Sticking out her tongue, they tangled intensely. Because she was not wearing underwear, her body was exposed when she moved. Lu Qing caught a glimpse of her from the corner of his eye. The beautiful scene of red and white was reflected in his mind and ignited his blood. As they kissed, Yenjika suddenly paused and hit Lu Qing shyly. "You pervert, when I'm so moved, you can. She was too embarrassed to finish her sentence. Lu Qing could only laugh dryly and say, "I can't help it, pft." Yenjika burst into laughter. Her previous haze was gone. She propped herself up slightly and looked at Lu Qing with her charming eyes. She suggested softly as if she had made up her mind. "Qing, let's get married, ah." Lu Qing was dumbfounded and confused. He asked back, "Are you proposing to me?" "Yes." Yenjika nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Lu Qing came to his senses and looked at Yenjika, who was serious. He asked again, "Really? This is not a joke. This is not a drill?" "Yes." Yenjika's eyes were gentle and her smile contained both determination and impulse. She counted with her fingers and said, "First, we are both 18 years old. We are adults and can get married. There is no such thing as late marriage and late childbirth in China. Second, our household registers are in school. Before the holidays, we can borrow them." Yenjika said tirelessly. Her dimples deepened as if she was brewing a jar of wine. Lu Qing was drunk even before he drank. The girl took a breath and blushed. She looked at Lu Qing shyly but firmly. "Third, I'm not forcing you to do anything or wait for me. I'm just making a promise. I can protect myself until the end. I want to tell you that I've made up my mind. I'm willing, you're the only other half in my mind. I'm willing to marry you. I want to be your husband and wife. I'm willing to." Before Yenjika asked, the emotional Lu Qing said, "Then let's go back to school now and find an excuse to borrow our household register. Then go buy a ring. How can we not have a ring when we get married, yes?" Yenjika's eyes were covered with mist. She nodded briskly. "This has nothing to do with other things. It belongs to the two of us, Qing and Ku's wedding. How can one not be impulsive and crazy in their youth?" Chapter 426. After eating the cake and desserts they bought last night, Lu Qing and Yenjika walked out of the hotel hand in hand and took a bus back to the old campus. They first bought a few sachets from the nearby stores, then slowly walked to the traffic point and returned to the new campus of Songqing University where they had lived for 4 whole semesters. When the scenery of Weishui Lake, the teaching building, the long bridge, and the lakeside corridor came into view, Yenjika felt an inexplicable sadness in her heart. She leaned closer to her ex-boyfriend, who was now her husband. Lu Qing sensed Ku's melancholy at the thought of parting. He wrapped his right arm around her shoulders and pulled her into his embrace. He comforted her with his actions and body temperature. In the quiet but not depressing atmosphere, the couple got off the bus and walked to the administration building with their hands clasped together. They returned the residence page to the management teacher before the end of the day. The excuse they used was the truth. Yenjika's participation in the joint training program had to be brought forward by a year, and the school had to help with various procedures. They didn't have time to get a visa to travel abroad, so they had to return the residence page in advance. As for the American visa that Lu Qing wanted, he didn't plan to get it himself. He planned to get it done through the Ice God sect, which was safer and more convenient. If there was something that required his cooperation, then he would ask. Otherwise, if a dangerous guy who was close to the inhuman stage entered the country, the inspection would be very strict. When everything was done, it was close to noon. They came to the school restaurant, opened the door of the reserved room, and saw Li Liantong, Shi Xiangyang, and Zhong Yanru. Since the first time he treated them to a meal, Lu Qing and his ex-girlfriend's roommates often had chances to meet. For example, when they had a meal in the dormitory, if it was outside the school, they would ask him to be their bodyguard. If it was inside the school, once it was over, he would come to pick Yenjika up, take a walk, and then go on a date. After winning the national championship, the couple was even asked to eat 3 times by them. Therefore, they were not strangers to Lu Cheng. At this time, they all smiled and greeted him. "Hello, great martial artist." Lu Cheng was used to being teased. He raised his hand and waved lightly in response. "Hello, comrades." Pfft. The girls burst into laughter at the same time. After they had calmed down and sat down, they threw the menus to Lu Cheng for him to choose. Then they turned to Yan Zhika and started talking about her study abroad. "Why so sudden?" Li Liantong maintained a dignified and quiet posture. "Cuckoo, if that's the case, how many years will you be gone for?" Zhong Yenru, who knew about this beforehand, asked with concern. "Woo, I can't bear to part with my fragrant, fair, and soft big cuckoo. Although I already have a boyfriend, I still love you the most." The tall and slender Shi Xiangyang, whose eyes were slightly out of focus, said half jokingly and half sadly. She was the second one in Yan Zhika's dormitory to be single. She claimed that she couldn't take it anymore after being fed dog food for 2 semesters. Following Shi Xiangyang's words, the atmosphere suddenly became gloomy. The sensitive and delicate girls recalled the bits and pieces they had spent together in the past 2 years, and their eyes reddened a little. Yan Zhika forced a smile and said, "A year early is good. This means that I can come back a year early. At that time, Dirty Tong and Cabbage might still be studying and haven't graduated." Li Liantong and Shi Xiangyang had 7 years of clinical experience. They still had a long way to go. "Maybe you already have a child, and we haven't graduated yet." Ever since she became familiar with Lu Cheng, Li Liantong's pretense had decreased, and she could say such shocking words from time to time. After joking for a while, she suddenly sighed and said, "What should I do? I feel like I've fallen out of love. I can't see Ku who always blushes because of my teasing. I can't observe how you fall in love to gain experience. I can't." As she spoke, her voice gradually became softer, and she actually choked with sobs. This immediately made Zhong Yenru and Shi Xiangyang's eyes moisten, and they said similar words. The atmosphere became more and more sad, and Lu Cheng also felt a little uncomfortable. No matter how good and confident he had said before, he panicked when he was concerned. How could he not have some feelings for the departure that was coming in a month's time? However, he concealed it very well, and his attitude was very proper. He didn't want to affect his little fairy's mood because of this. He exhaled, stood up and said, "I'll go out and order, and also use the washroom." This kind of scene was really not suitable for the waiter to come in and order. "Okay." Yan Zhika held back her emotions and nodded. After Lu Cheng went out, Li Liantong picked up a tissue and wiped the corners of her eyes. She decided to change the topic and liven up the atmosphere. She curled her lips, looked at Yan Zhika, and squeezed out her signature smile. "Cuckoo, I remember you packed up and left 2 days ago. Ru also said that I should have informed you on the day the exam ended." "So?" Zhong Yenru asked blankly. Without waiting for Yan Zhika to speak, Li Liantong chuckled and said, "You left 2 days ago. Why did you suddenly come back to the school to treat us to a meal? You were nearby these 2 days, right? What did you do?" When a couple is about to separate, they can't help but break through their previous boundaries. Why are your thoughts so dirty? Yan Zhika's sadness dissipated, and shyness welled up. She habitually interrupted Li Liantong, wanting to change the topic. "Don't explain. Any explanation is a cover-up. If you don't believe me, you can ask Cabbage and Ru. They definitely don't believe that you can still control yourself at this time." Li Liantong pointed at Shi Xiangyang and Zhong Yenru, who had a look of realization. Seeing Yan Zhika's shyness, she blinked her eyes and lowered her voice. "I don't want to ask about your specific progress. I'm just curious. You know, girls tend to have more imagination than guys when they write about pure love. There are always some weird positions, no, diverging. I've seen many stories about powerful martial artists. They deduced the application of their various abilities at that time and broke through the sky. I just want to ask you, is it like this, for example, don't ask. After Yenjika understood, she immediately interrupted Dirty Tong's words. Her pretty face became as bright as the sun, and she was so beautiful that it was out of this world. Images flashed in her mind, and she felt her cheeks heat up. Seeing this, Li Liantong laughed out loud. See, I wasn't wrong, right? If Ku and the rest didn't do anything, they wouldn't have said, don't ask, just now. Instead, they would have said, how would I know? Sigh, our favorite cabbage has really been taken by that guy outside. You tricked me. Yenjika blurted out. She was at a loss and embarrassed. I actually got tricked by Dirty Tong and admitted it myself. It's mainly because you have a guilty conscience. Li Liantong covered her mouth and laughed. After coming back to their senses and understanding the situation, Shi Xianyang and Zhong Yenru couldn't help but laugh. They either leaned on the table or lowered their heads, laughing heartily. Infected by them, Yenjika gradually started laughing as well. She felt that she really wasn't cut out for doing bad things, unless Qing brought her along and helped to cover it up. At this moment, Lu Qing came back from the washroom. He pushed the door open and said in surprise, "What are you guys laughing about?" Shi Xianyang, Zhong Yenru, and the rest looked at each other. Recalling Li Liantong's example, they laughed even harder and almost slammed the table and chairs. Yenjika was also embarrassed and amused. She couldn't say anything. Lu Qing looked at them blankly and felt that he really couldn't understand. These four girls were so sad and sorrowful just a moment ago. Why are they smiling so brightly and happily in the blink of an eye? Girls are so complicated. The meal was sometimes sad and sometimes cheerful. However, all banquets must come to an end. Amidst the mess of cups and plates, Lu Qing called the waiter and paid the bill with his phone. After leaving the restaurant, they stood at the door. Zhong Yenru teared up again and said, "Ku, take care of yourself over there. Remember to come and play with us when you come back during the holidays." Okay. Yenjika tried her best not to cry and simply nodded in response. Just as Shi Xianyang was about to speak, she suddenly lost her voice. After taking a deep breath, she said, "Ku, keep in touch when you're free. Now is the age of the internet. Everyone can still chat frequently. You and your Qing have to be good. We're waiting for you to get married and give us red packets." "That's right. I have high hopes for you guys. You'll definitely make it to your wedding day." Li Liantong imitated Yenjika's light-hearted tone. However, the redness at the corner of her eyes and the mist in her eyes had already deeply betrayed her. After a moment of sadness, Lu Qing and Yenjika bade farewell to them. They looked at each other and held hands again. If Dirty Tong and the others know that they can give us red packets now, they'll definitely be shocked. Yenjika smiled with complicated emotions. More than that. It's inevitable that there will be a floor full of glass shards. Lu Qing sighed and smiled faintly. After that, the newly married couple remeasured the many places they had left behind memories with their footsteps. From the lakeside where the grass was long and the birds were flying, to the desolate and vast western district, from the long bridge where they often met to the teaching building where they had lessons every day, in the next 2.5 days, they rarely went out. Other than eating and practicing martial arts, they stayed in the hotel room. There were even 2 times when they directly ordered takeout. One of them had abnormal physical strength and was full of vigor, while the other was bursting with emotions and was indulging in youthfulness and passion to their heart's content. They couldn't wait to become conjoined twins. On Monday, June 30th, Yenjika received the materials sent by Yen Kai and Ji Mingyu. She handed them over to the school office and embarked on the journey back to Shushan with Lu Qing. When there was a need here, she would come back to cooperate. However, at that time, it would most likely be Empress Dowager instead of Lu Qing who would accompany her. June 30th, 5:40 p.m. The high-speed train was speeding and was about to arrive at Shushan Station. Lu Qing didn't play with his phone. He tilted his head and looked at the exhausted fairy who was sleeping. Thinking of the crazy days these days, his heart was full of tenderness and sweetness. He felt that his wife was so beautiful and he liked her so much. At first, he put his arm around Yenjika's shoulder. Then, he felt that it wasn't enough, so he slid down to hold her slender waist. Then, he felt that it wasn't enough, so he leaned over and held her completely in his arms, breathing in her fragrance. After a while, Yenjika woke up from her sleep with trembling eyelashes. She looked up and saw Lu Cheng's familiar face. The loss caused by the nightmare immediately disappeared. She reached out and hugged her husband's waist. After hugging quietly for a while, their phones rang at the same time. It was from each other's mother. "Hello, Mom. What's up?" Lu Cheng answered the phone in surprise and lowered his voice. Yenjika beside him also spoke in a similar tone. Qifeng nagged, "You're coming back soon, right? We were going to eat at home tonight, but your grandpa asked us to come over. He said that Ertzi wanted to treat us. He heard that you're back, so he insisted on treating us." Chapter 427. Seriously, they didn't even know to postpone it for a day. "I'm already drooling over your home-cooked dishes." Lu Qing flattered. Qifeng smiled proudly. "Isn't that right? I've already bought the groceries. Let's talk about it when you get home. We'll go there when both of you are back." Okay. Lu Qing hung up the phone and turned to look at his little wife, no, his leader. He smiled and said, "It's my mom. What a coincidence." "Me too." Yenjika smiled and shook the phone. "Empress Dowager and my dad are at the square in front of the station." Lu Qing thought for a while and said with a smile, "Now I don't have to avoid them and can send you out directly." "Cool, do you think I should call you Mom and Dad?" Yenjika opened her mouth and pursed her lips. She glanced at Lu Qing and said, "I don't care if you have the nerve to call me that." While they were flirting, the train stopped at the station. Lu Qing stood up and took Yenjika's suitcase down with one hand as if it was a child's toy. Carrying the luggage, dragging the suitcase and pulling his wife, Lu Qing walked out of the train in high spirits and entered the arrival hall. When they were about to go out, they saw the sun outside, the bright sky and the steaming heat. He and Yenjika looked at each other subconsciously and sighed suddenly in their hearts. These dreamy, beautiful and crazy days were over, scenes flashed through their minds one after another, and the two of them fell silent. However, they pulled each other even tighter and leaned closer together. Out of the hall and turning around the road, Lu Cheng's eyes suddenly opened up. The square was dyed golden red in the last brilliance of the setting sun. The elegant Yan Kai and the mature and beautiful Ji Mingyu were waiting a few steps away. They were holding hands and holding umbrellas. "Your parents have such a good relationship." Lu Qing broke the silence and praised from the bottom of his heart. They had been together for more than 20 years. Yenjika raised her head proudly and said with a smile, "Young man, work hard. They are your role model and goal. All goals are meant to be surpassed." Lu Qing chuckled. While talking, the two of them had already approached Yan Kai, who had a slightly complicated look in his eyes, and Ji Mingyu, who was smiling. Lu Qing somewhat guiltily called out, "Uncle, Auntie. Dad, Mom." Yenjika didn't let go of Lu Cheng's hand and just called them like a spoiled child. Just as Ji Mingyu was about to speak, she glanced at her daughter and her heart skipped a beat. Although Ka's expression hid her tiredness, her entire person was delicate and radiant. Even as her mother, she had a strong sense of amazement. She thought about how her daughter was going to leave the country soon and was about to leave her boyfriend. As someone who had been there before, she understood. However, she didn't blame Lu Cheng. After he entered the dance stage and won the youth tournament in one fell swoop, she felt that the two little guys would steal the forbidden fruit at any time. Because of this, she even reminded her daughter to pay attention to safety measures. She didn't expect that this kid could hold back until recently. Then she remembered that her daughter didn't give up her dream because of this and obviously got support and understanding from her boyfriend. Ji Mingyu looked at Lu Qing more highly and was more satisfied with him. Now that you have a boyfriend, you don't want to be close to your mother anymore? She looked at her daughter and joked, lifting her left arm. Yan Jika's pretty face blushed. She let go of Lu Cheng's hand and took half a step forward, intimately hugging Empress Dowager's arm. She said in a sweet voice, "No." Because of the private engagement, she felt a little guilty toward her parents. Ji Mingyu turned to Lu Cheng and said with a warm smile, "Little Lu, where is your house? Let's go together. We'll send you back on the way. It's troublesome to take a taxi." "Okay, thank you, Auntie." Lu Cheng didn't reject the olive branch from his mother-in-law at all. After saying that, he quietly mouthed to Yenjika, indicating that what he wanted to say was actually, "Thank you, Mom." Yenjika wrinkled her nose and gave him a coquettish stare. The Yen family's car was parked outside the square in front of the station. Along the way, Ji Mingyu and Yenjika walked in the center with umbrellas. Yen Kai and Lu Qing accompanied them, listening to the mother and daughter chat and occasionally adding a few words. After putting down their luggage and getting on the SUV, Lu Cheng and Yenjika sat in the back and clasped their hands together again. After the car started, Yen Kai looked back at his daughter and said with a smile, "Ku, your grandparents want you to live in Jinkei County for a while to accompany them. They're afraid that after you go abroad, they won't be able to see you again." "How can that be? I always come back during the long holidays. It's almost the same as now." Yenjika subconsciously defended herself. "Your grandparents mean that it's not convenient for them to make phone calls." Yen Kai smiled gently. Yenjika looked up and said, "Then they can video chat online. They can see me directly. Well, this time I have to teach them how to do it." Listening to their conversation, Lu Cheng was a little disappointed. Ku was going to stay at her grandparents' house for a few days. Didn't that mean that he would be separated from her for a while? Their time together before going abroad would be reduced a lot. At this time, Yenjika turned to look at him. Her face was flushed, but she said firmly, "Dad, didn't my grandparents say that they want to see Cheng? I'll go with him then." Pfft. Ji Mingyu, who was driving, couldn't help but laugh. She was both disdainful and proud. She didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing to have a daughter who looked like her. Yen Kai was silent for a while and then said with a complicated smile, "Okay." Lu Cheng was pleasantly surprised and his disappointment disappeared. He couldn't help but pull his little fairy's hand towards him. They looked at each other and smiled. Yen Kai asked, "When are you going?" "A few more days. I have to go to Cheng's house." Yenjika's eyes were dizzy, and her voice was getting lower and lower. An ugly daughter-in-law has to meet her parents-in-law, and she's already a legal daughter-in-law. Although Yen Kai was mentally prepared, he still felt inexplicably melancholy. He always felt that his daughter was not grown up yet. How could she be abducted? How could she be at the stage of meeting her parents-in-law? Then you have to prepare well. I didn't know these things back then, and no one taught me. I almost made a fool of myself the first time I came here. Ji Mingyu recalled and said, angrily. Yen Kai thought for a while and said, "Say hello to Lu's parents for me." In Shushan, unless it was a blind date, in-laws were not allowed to meet when the younger generation was meeting their parents. Only when the young couple had a stable relationship and were ready to talk about marriage would they have a few special gatherings to finalize details such as the date. "Thank you, Uncle Yen." Lu Qing hurriedly returned the greeting on behalf of his parents. Not long after, Ji Mingyu parked the car across the road according to his instructions. Waving goodbye to his real wife, mother-in-law, and father-in-law, Lu Qing stepped into the familiar yet strange neighborhood. The general environment and layout of the buildings here had not changed. More than 10 years felt like a day, as if it had been sealed in time. Most of the pedestrians were the same, but there were more modeled faces, more white hair, and more recently born faces. The renovation of the new house had been completed at the end of April, but it would be open for a while. According to Chi Fong, they would choose a date to move in October. Along the way, Lu Cheng was greeted by people. Some people treated him as someone else's child and scolded the teenager beside them, which made him laugh secretly. He walked briskly up the stairs, took out the key and opened the door. Before he entered, he saw his mother coming over with a smile. "You're fast. Uncle Yen sent me back." Lu Cheng answered frankly. He glanced at the living room and asked, "Where's Dad?" "Him." Chi Fong replied unhappily. Since he became the factory director, he has been busier than before. He said that he has to live up to the trust of others. He's not home until 6:30 every day. "Don't mention your dad." Then she smiled and said, "When is Jika coming? Your mother has to be prepared in advance." Her daughter-in-law was coming, so she took the initiative to change Yen Jika to Jika. "Jika is fine these days. It's up to you." Lu Cheng struck while the iron was hot. "How about tomorrow?" No, I don't know if she'll like the food I prepared for you. I have to do a big cleaning and tidy up the house. I can't see her in such a mess," Chi Fong said to herself. "Also, I have to call your aunt and ask her to send some vegetables from her farm. Jika comes from a good family and must be tired of expensive food. She has to try something new." Listening to his mother's nagging and feeling how much she valued her daughter-in-law, Lu Cheng felt warm and couldn't help but laugh. "What are you laughing at?" Chi Fong took out her phone and didn't have time to make the call. "I'm happy for Jika," Lu Cheng replied humorously. Chi Fong smiled. "I've asked around. Jika is a good girl. She's gentle and pretty. She was much better than you when we were in number 1 middle school. Didn't you always say good things about her in my ear?" At the mention of number 1 middle school, she suddenly sighed. "Cheng, when you were in high school, I was worried that you wouldn't be able to find a girlfriend." "Ah. I wasn't a boring and introverted person in high school. Was I that bad?" Lu Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know what to say. Double critical damage from his own mother. After Chi Fong contacted Chi Yen and set the date for the day after tomorrow, Lu Cheng took out his phone and sent a message to Yen Jika, whose name had been changed to Madam Wife. "My mom said the day after tomorrow. She values you so much that she even asked me what you like to eat. She wants to go to the market to buy it again. She even asked my aunt to send the vegetables that she planted at home over. She also wants to do a big cleaning and do your hair." For the sake of family harmony, he didn't hesitate to praise his mother and daughter-in-law in front of them. Yen Jika replied with a blushing expression, "Auntie is so nice. You have to call her mom." Snickering expression, Lu Cheng replied. "Go away, I don't have a husband like you." Yen Jika sent an expression of blowing a whistle for a red card, followed by an expression of lowering her head and smiling shyly. "I'm still not used to calling you that. My face was burning from typing just now. It's so embarrassing. But it's not the first time you've called me that these days." Raising eyebrows expression, Lu Cheng replied. "That's when I'm in a daze." After sending this message, Yen Jika suddenly came to her senses. Her face was as red as a tomato and she replied bitterly, "I'm not going to talk to you anymore." After a while, Lu Jisheng called and asked Chi Fong and Lu Cheng to go downstairs directly. He said that Ertzi would drive to pick them up. "Not bad," Chi Fong said and pulled her son out of the house. They went downstairs and arrived at the entrance of the community. Ertzi drove a big Benz this time. He was smoking and chatting with Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng. When he saw Lu Cheng, he immediately put on a smile and greeted him. "Cheng, I finally meet you. You're the pride of our Lu family." The sky was getting dark. Lu Cheng glanced at him and found that he did look a little like his cousin Lu Yanwei. He smiled modestly and said, "You're too kind, Brother Ertzi. You're also awesome." Why did he call him Brother Ertzi? Because I still don't know what his real name is. Chapter 428. I'm just earning hard money. Well, let's get in the car. Mr. and Mrs. C are almost done. We can't keep them waiting for too long. Seeing Lu Cheng, Erzi put out the remaining half of the cigarette in his hand without hesitation, which made Lu Jisheng, who was smoking, stunned for a dozen seconds. Lu Cheng smiled and shook his head. If you're earning hard money, then I'm earning hard money too. Money that could be earned through sweat and blood. Lu Jisheng also put out the cigarette in his hand and threw it in the trash can. He and Qifeng sat in the back of the Benz. After Lu Cheng fastened his seatbelt, Erzi started the car and drove to Lu Debang's house. He said with a smile, I watched your national competition from the beginning to the end. You're awesome. Every man dreams of becoming a master, and you're already a master. On the way, he didn't talk about anything else but martial arts. Occasionally, he would praise Lu Cheng in front of Lu Cheng's parents, making the atmosphere relaxed and harmonious. He must have been in the business for many years. Lu Cheng commented in his mind, but he pretended to be polite. Arriving at his grandfather's house, Lu Cheng had just finished greeting everyone when his cousin, Ma Shi, dragged him into the room. Her eyes sparkled as she pointed at a pile of posters and notebooks. Brother, you promised me that you would sign for my classmates. She said with pride and admiration, at least half of our classmates idolize you. Since I said I'm your idol, I'll sign them even if I have to kneel down. Lu Cheng laughed self-deprecatingly. He took a photo of the pile of posters and notebooks and sent it to his wife. He used an emoji with his head hanging from a beam to express his woes. The troubles of becoming famous. Look at your calligraphy. Yenjika put her hands on her hips and looked at the sky proudly. Seeing her cousin's smiling expression, Mashi asked curiously, Sister-in-law? Everyone who watched the final competition was impressed by the hug between Lu Cheng and Yenjika. Yeah, it's a blow to me. Lu Cheng shook his head with a smile. He took the pen and began to write his name. His wrist was steady and his strength was moderate. The more he wrote, the worse it got. All right. Finally, he exhaled and ended the activity that destroyed his confidence in calligraphy. Of course, if he wrote the words Qian or Xing, he would still be able to meet people with the help of visualization. Thank you, second brother. You're so nice. Mashi happily organized the posters and notebooks. By the time the brother and sister left the room, the two tables had been put together. Plates and basins of cooked dishes were brought out one by one. The aroma of the dishes lingered in the air. It was different from before. This is the game I got from Uncle Yu in the village. Try it, it's really good. Erzi introduced them to Lu Cheng with a smile and praised Lu Jiqiang. It's all thanks to second uncle's excellent craftsmanship. Most people wouldn't be able to handle these. Lu Jiqiang smiled smugly and said, these wild animals are just like that. Back when I was a cook in the army, he kept bragging about the past, completely not noticing that Erzi's face had darkened a bit. These wild animals were just so. Lu Cheng wanted to laugh when he heard their conversation. He secretly sighed that his second father was indeed a man who offended others the moment he opened his mouth. When he sat down and tasted a few pieces of different game, his mind suddenly became active. It's really good. I should let Ku try it too. Well, I was worried about what to bring to Ku's grandfather's house. Uncle Yu in the village should be the uncle who told me to go to him if I want to eat wild animals. I'm his son's savior. While thinking, he didn't feel ashamed to ask about the dishes he thought were good, and he firmly remembered Erzi's answer. This meal made Lu Debang very happy. He made an exception and drank more than usual. After praising Lu Cheng, he reminded Lu Yanwei to work hard under Erzi and live up to the expectations of his relatives. At this time, Lu Cheng noticed that his cousin Lu Yanwei was dressed like a dog, so he asked with concern, Brother, what are you doing with brother Erzi now? The day Qifeng mentioned this, he wanted to ask his cousin, but he didn't expect that Yan Zhika would go abroad a year early. He didn't have time to care about it. Before Lu Yanwei had time to answer, Erzi said with a smile, "You've won the nationals and become the heavenly son of the era. The entire Shushan city is proud of you, and the martial arts atmosphere is flourishing. In addition, the team formed by your city performed well this time and almost made it to the second stage. You already have a lot of supporters. Therefore, your city plans to build a new martial arts arena and form a comprehensive business district that integrates health, fitness, leisure, and entertainment. I'm new here, so I don't have a big appetite. I only want to eat one piece, but I'm not familiar with this place, so I asked Yanwei to help me." Then he looked at Lu Debong and said, "Fourth Grandpa, don't worry. Yanwei has done a good job these days." Lu Qing listened to them thoughtfully and didn't express any opinion. Instead, the elders all exclaimed that he had become a household name in Shushan and directly led a trend that changed the city's planning. Star? Erzi laughed secretly and shook his head slightly. Fourth Grandpa's family had little contact with the martial arts circle, so they didn't have any practical experience. They only knew that Qing was a great man, but they didn't know how great he was or what it meant in the real world. They just thought he was like a star. But in fact, in his eyes, as half an insider in the martial arts circle, Qing should be a powerful man, famous and powerful in the future. He didn't talk about this, but changed the topic and talked about the family affairs in Qingfu County. The lively dinner was coming to an end. At this time, Lu Yanwei, whose face was getting rounder, winked at Lu Qing, indicating that he had something to say to him. "I'll take the fruit out of the fridge." Lu Yanwei stood up and walked to the kitchen, which made his mother, Wang Lily, want to wipe her tears. She sighed that her son had finally matured. Lu Qing went to the kitchen with an excuse to go to the bathroom. He saw Lu Yanwei holding his phone and chatting with someone with a smile on his face. I have a girlfriend," he said to his cousin, a little embarrassed. "Ah. Brother, when did you have a girlfriend?" Lu Qing was shocked. Didn't his cousin go on several blind dates without success? Just right. Lu Yanwei smiled so widely that his eyebrows couldn't be seen. "We met before playing games. But at that time, I failed to start a business several times. I didn't have any confidence and didn't dare to pursue her. Recently, I ran some business with Brother Erzi and got back some confidence and some money." As he spoke, his voice grew softer and softer. Suddenly, he exhaled and said hesitantly, "Qing, I feel like I'm in a dream right now. What if Brother Erzi doesn't succeed in his business or I accidentally offend him? Wouldn't I be back to square one?" From his face, Lu Qing could see that he was worried about personal gains and losses. After thinking about it, he recalled Ku's occasional words and combined them with his own experience and opinion. "Brother, you don't have to worry so much. What's important is what you can learn from this. You see, in business, you need money, connections, and foresight. If you follow Brother Erzi, you'll definitely meet a lot of business people. You'll build up your own connections if you deal with them well. Then you'll gain experience and foresight from this project. Even if it doesn't succeed in the future, or they turn against you, you'll become a better Lu Yanwei and can find a way out." Lu Yanwei listened attentively. His expression gradually relaxed as if he had untied a lot of his worries. After a moment of silence, he said self-deprecatingly, "Qing, why do I feel that you're more mature than me? It's as if you're my brother. I almost called you brother just now." Lu Qing pointed at himself and laughed. "Call me brother. Come on. You're so rude." Lu Yanwei's smile brightened. He took out fruits from the fridge and cut them into plates and rinsed them. After dinner, Erzi said that they had finally gathered everyone and proposed to take a family photo. He would find a place to print it digitally. Lu Qing didn't care. He stood beside his grandfather and completed the photo. After taking the family photo, Erzi took the initiative to ask Lu Qing to take a picture with the heavenly son of the age. Lu Qing wouldn't refuse such a small thing. Learning from his little fairy, he stepped back and faced the camera with a smile. After chatting for a long time and sending the Lu family back home, Erzi drove to Qingfu County via the highway. He entered his own company and turned on the computer to print the photos. After carefully looking at the family photo and the one with Lu Cheng for a while, the smile on his face grew wider. He turned over 2 photo frames, put them in, and placed them on the boss's desk, facing the guests. Just then, his phone rang. A call came in. "Hello, brother He. Why are you calling me so late? I'm in the company. Come over and we can talk face to face." Okay, I'll wait for you." Putting down his phone, the corners of Erzi's mouth curled up. His gaze passed through the window and looked at the lights below. After almost half an hour, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A 30-year-old man in a suit pushed open the door to Erzi's office. He saw Erzi sitting behind the desk, holding a pen in both hands and slowly turning it. "Boss Lu, you're in a good mood." The man in the suit smiled reservedly. Just then, his eyes swept over the 2 photo frames on the table and saw the 2 photos. Boss Lu, you don't show your true colors." The man in the suit was stunned at first, then his smile turned into a bright one. Erzi, Lu Yuanzhang's smile became more obvious. In the Lu family, after Lu Jisheng went to take a shower, Lu Cheng and Qi Feng talked about Yan Zhika's favorite dishes. In the midst of their idle chatter, he suddenly remembered something and interrupted them. "Mom, do you know Erzi's name? You haven't mentioned it to me." "I didn't think about asking before." Qi Feng was stunned for a moment and answered, "Lu Yuan, what's Lu Yuan again?" "Sigh, I don't remember clearly." Speaking of this, the mother and son looked at each other and smiled, throwing this matter to the back of their minds. Who cares what his name is? You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.